Good evening, everyone. I now call to order the regular meeting of the City Council and successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency and Housing Authority meeting of Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. Please join me in standing as a video plays the national anthem, and then together we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty. Now we have our moment of solemn expression. And we're lucky and very fortunate to be led. This is our last meeting of the year, everybody. For our last meeting of 2023, Dave Mann, again, is from Calvary Chapel, and he's going to lead us in a moment of solemn expression.
Yes. Thank you. Father, we come before you with this being our most solemn gathering, Lord, this evening. We recognize everything that is now past, but everything that is still yet ahead. Lord, as we finish out this year, we pray, Father, over the mayor, the entire council, the entire city staff. We lift up, Lord, our police department, the chief, his entire team, the fire department, fire and rescue. We pray, Father, for their entire team. The municipalities, the water here, water district, Mesa Water, Lord, we pray for that operation too, Lord, that you'll continue to bless it as it serves here, along with all, Father, that are mentioned now before you and are present before us each and every day here in the city of Costa Mesa. Bless, Lord, the over 112,000 residents here in Costa Mesa, those present here tonight. We thank you for this gathering. We pray for your peace. We pray for your guidance in the matters of decision that will be before us. We pray, Father, that you would fill us with a deep sense of your love, a love for you and a love for others as we serve to the very best of our ability. Bless, Lord, this team that's here tonight, this Pop Warner Patriots team, Lord. Bless them. And Lord, we're so rejoicing with them, Lord, in their accomplishment, Lord, here for the city of Costa Mesa. And Lord, bless the coach and bless all the assistants. Be with them, Lord, for another year ahead. We look forward to the next year, Lord, equally with your guidance and your providence in our lives. We ask this prayer in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much, Pastor. Okay, so, Madam Clerk, would you please do the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the record will reflect that all council is here except for Councilmember Harper.
Oh, yeah, everybody's here. We counted you. Okay, so City Attorney Barlow, could you please do the closed session report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My apologies. We have one item for closed session that we're going to resume after this meeting. As to the other, after the conclusion of the regular meeting, as to the other items, direction was given.
All right, thank you very much. So for my part, I want to announce a change to the agenda. We're going to consider what was previously agendized as public hearing item number 2 first. And so that'll be public hearing item number 1, and then we're just reversing it. So public hearing item number 1 pertaining to fees and so forth, that's going to be number 2 now. So we have 2 great presentations this evening, and our first one is for the Newport Mesa Pop Warner Patriots, the 12U division. Oh, yeah. Now, athletes and coaches and parents, that this is, as I said, our last meeting of the year, and we love to bring teams in and recognize them, and we've brought many teams in: volleyball players, baseball players, swimmers, soccer players, all kinds of stuff like that. But I'm not sure we've ever had an undefeated team come into the chambers and be recognized this year. So I think you're the first one. So congratulations, and now to my script. Tonight, we are proud to recognize the Newport Mesa Patriots 12U 2023 Orange Empire Conference Division II Orange Bowl champions. In late October, the Newport Mesa Patriots 12U team, coached by Joe Urban, claimed victory over the dreaded Fullerton Titans. The Patriots routed Fullerton 32-7 at Tustin High School for the prestigious Orange Bowl title. As Coach Urban said, and I quote, "Winning a title is one thing, but staying perfect is another." The Patriots finished off a perfect 10-0 season. The Orange Bowl championship title is the first for the organization since 2015, when the former Costa Mesa Pop Warner Eagles won a Division IV title. The organization rebranded to the Newport Mesa Patriots a few years ago. The City Council congratulates the Newport Mesa Patriots 12U team and its coaches and its parents and its family for winning the 2023 Orange Empire Conference Division II Orange Bowl Championship. The City of Costa Mesa is proud of your outstanding sportsmanship and dedication throughout the season. We congratulate you for this great accomplishment and your victory. And to tell us more about this exciting achievement and to provide certificates to each of the players by name is your coach, Coach Joe Urban. So you.
There. Thank you, Mayor Stevens and Council, for having us tonight. As most of you guys know, we had a banquet last week to celebrate this 10-0 team, and it was a special group of young men this year. Most of them were first-year guys, but we have 6 guys that persevered from a 1-9 season as 10-year-olds to a 10-0 year this year as 12-year-olds, and they put in hard work from August 1st all the way to that championship game on the 28th of October. And, you know, each one of them had a contribution to this team one way or another, and very proud of this group of kids. I'd like to thank my coaches as well for all their hard work and dedication. All right, Andrew Cleaver. Is Nash Clymer here? I think he was the only one. Nash isn't here. Nash Clymer, though. Lucas de Guzman. Maverick Diaz. Travis Freeze. Nick Garcia. Jaden Garcia. Blake Gravelin. Rhett Hardesty. Nathan Henniger. Tyler Halista. Oops. Hudson Kolsky. Lincoln Labonte. Mateo Labrada. Andrew Lee. Nick Lee. Freddie Lopez. Rylan Mason. Kyrie Morton. Brody Nicolaisen. Colin O'Donnell. Charlie Roberts. Roderick Rodriguez. Hudson Russell. Ethan Shaw. Gavin Shaw. He's not here tonight, but Gavin Silsby. Cade Smith. Nathan Smith. Joey Urban. Myself. Coach Brett Halista. Coach Keith Morton. Coach Brian O'Donnell. Coach Scott Hardesty. And Coach Jason Gravelin.
Okay, so kids and coaches, council's gonna come down and take a picture with you, but because you guys are spread out so much, there's gonna have to be at least 2 lines, so get the tall kids in the back and the shorter kids in the front, and kind of angle together, and then the council will come in and will join you. So coach is in the back.
Yeah, coach is in the very back line.
Congrats. All right, you guys ready to come back down to order? Order, order, order. All right. Okay, so our second presentation is recognition of South Coast Repertory's 60th season, 60 seasons. Costa Mesa is proud to be the city of the arts. It is home to various world-renowned centers like the Tony Award-winning South Coast Repertory. South Coast Repertory began its 60th season of producing world-class theater for Orange County earlier this year on September 1st. South Coast Repertory was founded in the belief that theater is an art form with a unique power to illuminate the human experience. South Coast Repertory produces a wide range of theater ranging from classics to modern masterpieces, contemporary hits, and new plays on the leading edge. It also produces theater for young audiences and families and offers year-round award-winning programs in education and outreach. The success of South Coast Repertory has been in large part due to the commitment of the first and only managing director, Paula Tomei. She's with us today. Paula recently announced that she will be stepping down next August after being part of Orange County's most prominent theater for 44 of its 60 years. Thank you for being here today, Paula, and thank you for your dedication to making South Coast Repertory a world-class theater. We wish you all the best in your retirement. So, Paula, why don't you come up? And we also have a special presentation by our chair of our Arts Commission, Charlene Ashendorf. And so, Charlene, you can come up too, but and while I wait for you folks to get ready to get the floor and speak, I'm going to read from the proclamation. These are excerpts from the proclamation that we're going to present. On September 1st, South Coast Repertory began its 60th season of producing world-class theater for Orange County from their Costa Mesa home. Over the past 6 decades, South Coast Repertory has grown from a small storefront theater to the forefront of American theater, recognized as a leading regional theater in the United States. That journey began in a Long Beach diner with founding artistic directors Dave Ems and Martin Benson sketching out the blueprint for what became the South Coast Repertory on a napkin. South Coast Repertory originally opened in 1964 at the Newport Ebel Club with a production of Tartuffe? All right, got it. Okay, I need some more rehearsal for that one. And 4 months later, they welcomed guests into a converted marine swap shop on the Balboa Peninsula for a production of Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot. I know, I didn't say got it. All right. South Coast Repertory grew out of that small home into a larger one and eventually into its current home on what used to be a Costa Mesa lima bean field, where Ems and Benson planted the first artistic flag in what became Orange County's cultural centerpiece. That's our whole performing arts complex. That flag signaled a theater awakening, not only for Orange County, but throughout American theater. South Coast Repertory became one of the nation's foremost architects of new plays and received a Tony Award for Outstanding Regional Theater in 1988, along with dozens of regional theater awards. Through the years, through economic downturns and global pandemics, South Coast Repertory has survived and evolved, continuing to bring world-class theater, award-winning education programs, and renowned new play development to Costa Mesa and Orange County and beyond. The city of Costa Mesa recognizes South Coast Repertory for engaging and enriching our community with world-class, extraordinary caliber programs. Now, therefore, I, John B. Stevens, Mayor of the City of Costa Mesa, do proclaim this special commendation to South Coast Repertory in recognition of its landmark 60th season and its role as an arts pioneer in Costa Mesa and the Orange County region.
Thank you. Oh, wow.
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much. May I say a few words?
Of course.
Okay, let me put this down. I wasn't expecting, I wasn't expecting that, and it's lovely. Thank you all so much. I mean, it really is an honor to be here today. And on behalf of the Board of Trustees, artists, and staff of South Coast Repertory, I have the privilege to thank you, Mayor Stevens, and all of the city council members for this meaningful and important recognition. It is indeed an honor for South Coast Repertory to be recognized in this way by our city, the City of the Arts, during our milestone 60th season. It's hard to believe that we've realized a total of 547 full productions on our stages and have served millions of Orange County citizens during that time. We have so many to thank for getting us to where we are today. At the top of the list are our founding artistic directors, David Ems and Martin Benson. They created this company in 1964, embraced the Orange County community, and as a result, we have built a theater with a national and international presence in Costa Mesa. Not only have we established a reputation as a champion of playwrights and producers of new plays, we enjoy vibrant partnerships with local leaders and audiences, and a history of engagement with diverse communities. While we're not without our challenges, combine all of that with a very talented staff and extraordinary artists, and we're poised to build on and broaden our work in the years to come. The best way we can serve our region as a resident theater company is to continue working to be the best we can possibly be at this time and always. We have reached this historic moment because of our dedicated family of supporters, which includes you and the city of Costa Mesa. We've achieved more than we ever could have dreamed of over our past 60 years and are emboldened to continue to dream and explore what's possible in the future. Our hearts are full of gratitude for this significant and momentous recognition. Thank you all again. And here's to the next 60 years of South Coast Repertory.
Thank you. So we're gonna take a photo now
great.
with the flowers and the
Okay.
chairman and chairperson and
Wonderful.
the whole thing. All right. That's smart. Down there. Okay, wonderful. So we're done with our presentations, two great presentations. Now we're moving on to public comments. For public comments, you can comment about an item that's not on the agenda. If there's an item that's on the agenda that you want to speak to, you have to wait till that item is called. But you could talk about anything else, including stuff that's on the consent calendar. So you get 3 minutes. You'll hear a ding, at 2 minutes, and please wrap it up. If you're doing a Spanish to English translation, there's another 2 minutes. You get 5 minutes. We first have the people that are in the chambers do their public comments. Please line up at both podiums to make it faster, and then we'll go to the people on Zoom. And it's the same, it applies there. Use your hand raise function or star 9 and then star 6 to speak. So Lydia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor Stevens and City Council members. My name is Lydia Chavez with the Office of Orange County Supervisor Katrina Foley, who proudly represents the 5th District. The 5th District runs from Costa Mesa through San Clemente, and Supervisor Foley is working on her key priorities for our district, which include public safety from addressing the increase in gang member graffiti and the alarming rise of fentanyl poisonings. On October 24th, Supervisor Foley and Assemblymember Petrie Norris hosted a fentanyl town hall. Thank you, Mayor Stevens and City Manager Lorianne Farrell for attending. Our other priorities include reducing homelessness and creating housing opportunities for our workforce, families, and next generation. Climate resiliency planning, saving our beaches from coastal erosion and protecting our communities from wildfires, supporting small businesses, cutting red tape, and creating good jobs, serving as a taxpayer watchdog by increasing transparency and holding our contractors accountable. Supervisor Foley recently sent a letter to the OC Fair Board advocating for the preservation of the Equestrian Center. On November 13th, Supervisor Foley met with Councilmember Reynolds and county and city staff at Talbot Park to discuss a range of issues, including addressing encampments and the Talbot Park Master Plan. On November 20th, Mayor Pro Tem Jeff Harlan and Mayor John Stevens attended our food giveaway at Back Bay High School with Newport Mesa Unified School District. We're thankful to our partnership with the City of Costa Mesa. A few announcements. Supervisor Foley is hosting her 15th annual New Coats for Kids Drive. We're accepting brand new coats and teen coats until December 18th. Thank you, Costa Mesa, for hosting collections right here at City Hall. You may also drop off your new coats at the Costa Mesa Senior Center, Donald Duggan Library, Mesa Verde Library, and the Costa Mesa Police Department. The County Board of Supervisors 2023 Holiday Open House will take place at the County Administration Building next Tuesday, December 12th from 1 to 3 p.m. The entire public is welcome, and there are more details on the website. District 5 will be hosting dessert. As always, for any member of the community who wants to get in touch with our office or needs help getting connected to resources, please call 714-834-3550 or email katrina.foley@ocgov.com. You can also visit our website and subscribe to our email newsletter at bos5.ocgov.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. Mr. Humphrey.
Good evening, Council. Jay Humphrey, Costa Mesa resident. I just want to take this opportunity to wish you and your families, all of your staff, and our family in Costa Mesa, a happy holiday season. Please enjoy it thoroughly with your family and learn the wishes of those holidays and what that means to us. And may we have joy and pleasure for our holidays as well as peace on earth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right back at you, Jay. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I want to speak on the letter that the city received, I believe it was November 29th, from HCD regarding the housing element. And in this, they're telling the city that the housing element, until they get their sober living issue under control, evidently we're not going to have a housing element. And in their 14-page letter, I'd like to just read, and this is on the city website, if you want to read the whole thing. In the conclusion, it says, Costa Mesa's ordinances, this is for sober living, are blocking new group homes from opening, forcing existing ones to close, and imposing costs and administrative burdens and fees that make it difficult for group homes to operate. The city is creating restrictions and problems in the context of a shortage of adequate housing for persons with disability. They go on to say that HCD has received the city's group homeless ordinances and found that they violate, and they list 3 government codes that the city of Costa Mesa is violating. The city must stop enforcing these ordinances, repeal them, change its reasonable accommodation policies and practices, and review other zoning practices in light of HCD's guidance to ensure that the city is complying with the state law. These actions are necessary for the city to comply with its duties under the Government Code 65008, etc., and are among the things that the city must do in the sixth cycle housing element to bring it into substantial compliance with the state housing element law. So my question is if the state is not going to approve our housing element as long as the sober living ordinance is on the books as it stands, are we still relitigating this in federal court? And what does this do for the city as far as liability? Is this going to cause, if we take this off the books, is this going to cause some kind of class action lawsuit by the operators, by the actual people that lost their ability to live in a sober living home? I'm asking for the residents because this is going to be a financial disaster. And it looks like either direction we go. So if maybe we could get some input. I'm just a little old lady from Orange Avenue, but I'd like some legal advice and advice for the residents on what we should expect and what's going to follow. Is the federal trial going to go on? Are we ever going to get a housing element? I mean, this is obviously a to be continued, but I think it's a really important thing for the council to address and update the residents because it involves all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Buenas noches.
Hold on one second. Do you have it?
Can you hear me?
Got it. Beautiful. Thank you.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Marisela. He venido siempre a estas juntas. Vengo a agradecerles a promotores de salud y agradecer por el apoyo personal y a ustedes como autoridades por aprobar la ordenanza que nos protege de no ser desalojados. En agosto 31 nos dieron una carta de desalojo diciendo que teníamos que desalojar por remodelación o demolición o demolición. Nos preguntamos a la manager de qué posibilidades teníamos de permanecer ahí.
Good evening. My name is Marisela Molina, and I've been coming to this meeting. So I'm here just to give out some thanks and thank the Promotoras de Salud and thank you for your support. And thank you as the local authority for having passed the ordinance that protects us from evictions. On August 31st, we received an eviction letter, and it stated that we were being evicted because of remodeling or demolition. And so we asked our manager what the possibility of staying there was.
Nos dijo que teníamos que aplicar. También preguntamos qué pasaría si no salíamos en esa fecha y nos dijo que nos llevaría a legal. Antes de llegar la fecha, ella empezó a mandarnos mensajes preguntando si ya estábamos listos para desocupar. Le preguntamos Y el 4 de noviembre en la tarde, ella puso un papel en nuestro carro diciendo que no estacionarse. Al día siguiente, nosotros la miramos que le estaba tomando fotos a nuestro carro. Mi esposo salió a preguntarle si había algún problema con el carro o qué estaba pasando. Ella le dijo que sí era de él ese carro y mi esposo le dijo sí. Y ella le contesta, dice, yo pensé que no era de ustedes, yo pensé que era de los que se habían movido, que lo habían dejado aquí. Y ella le volvió a repetir en esa conversación, le repitió, y recuerde que el lunes lo voy a llevar a legal. Y mi esposo le contesta, está bien, haga lo que usted tenga que hacer. Por mí no hay problema. Ella empezó a discutir con él y le dice, pues el problema es suyo, tiene que preocuparse porque el problema es de usted.
Excuse me, let's do the translation.
Yeah. So she told us that we needed to apply, and we asked, what would happen if we didn't leave by the date that she told us, and she said she'd take us to legal action if we didn't leave by that date. And then, before the date even got there, she started sending us messages, and she was just asking us if we were ready to leave yet. And then on November 4th in the afternoon, she started leaving these papers on our car saying things like no parking. And so the very next day, we saw her out there, and she was taking pictures of our car. And my husband went out there and asked, if there was a problem with the car. And she asked, oh, is this your car? And my husband said, yes. And she said, oh, well, I thought it was the people who had moved out, that they just left it here and abandoned the car. And then she said, remember that Monday I'm going to take legal action. And she started, arguing with him. And he said, okay, yeah, no problem. And she said, no, it is a problem. You should worry about it because it's your problem.
Desde entonces ella nos está mandando mensajes que nos tenemos que ir, pero el 6 de noviembre nos dio otra carta, exactamente a la primera que nos dio de desalojo, y para esta nos tenemos que salir para sería enero, porque nos los dio el 6 de noviembre, tendríamos que salir el 6 de enero. Pero en esa carta nos puso otro papel que lo teníamos que firmar, pero nosotros no firmamos. Y también vengo a decir que la manager donde vivo nos está acosando desde hace más de 2 meses, nos está presionando para que nos salgamos. Últimamente nos ha dicho que nos tenemos que ir, que nos tenemos que salir, que ya es que...
Ma'am, let's leave some time for the translation.
Since then, she's been sending us messages that we have to leave, and then she sent us another letter on November 6th, just like the first eviction one, saying that we needed to leave by January. So since she gave it to us in November 6th, we have to be out by January 6th. So with the letter, she left another document.
All right, that's good. Thank you.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Mi nombre es Juana Trejo y soy promotora de salud del condado de Orange.
My name is Juana Trejo, and I'm a promotora de salud in Orange County.
Y estoy aquí para agradecerles por la ordenanza que hicieron que fuera posible.
And I'm here to thank you for making the ordinance a reality.
Sabemos que hay todavía muchos detalles para que se hagan cumplir por la desobediencia, ¿verdad?, de la ley.
We know that there's still a lot of details that need to be worked out because of people not obeying laws.
Pero creo que merecen saber que hay muchas familias que están respirando tranquilamente.
But I think you all need to know that there's some families that are breathing a little easier now.
Porque ya se sienten protegidos más de nada por nuestros representantes que son ustedes.
Because now they're feeling protected more so by the their representatives, which is you all.
También queremos que sepan que desde la última reunión, pues en el distrito número 3 han pasado pues muchas cosas que muchos de ustedes ya saben. Hubo una muerte allí en la comunidad de una persona que mataron.
And I also wanted to let you know that since the last meeting in District 3, there's a lot of things that have happened. There was a death that happened in the community. Somebody was killed.
Pero aún así nosotros hemos salido a caminar a la comunidad.
But even so, we've still been able to walk out in our community.
Venciendo el temor que tenemos por ser vistos, teniendo nuestros unos a unos con la gente que vive ahí. Venciendo el temor.
Even though, we're conquering our fear and stepping out, even though we see the people that are there when we're there with our children.
Lo que supimos de las personas con las que hablamos es de que tenemos personas sin hogar.
What we found out from people we talked to is that we have some people that don't have a home, they're homeless.
Que entran a los patios en la madrugada buscando, pues, qué llevarse, me imagino, ¿verdad?
That they are going into people's yards in the middle of the night looking for something to take, I imagine.
Sabemos que ellos están ubicados por donde está el 7-Eleven que está en Baker.
We know that they are in the location of the 7-Eleven that's off of Baker.
Que está entre Mendoza y Fairview.
Between Mendoza and Fayetteville.
Pero hay reportes de que estas personas cuando le piden dinero a la gente que va a lavar o que vaya a la tienda, se molestan porque no les dan dinero.
But there's been reports that people have said that when these people ask them for money when they're out to do their laundry or they're out to the store, that they end up getting upset when they don't get money.
Y hay personas que se sienten intimidadas porque no saben qué hacer y cómo enfrentar esa situación.
But there's people who feel intimidated because they don't know what to do or how to face that situation.
También tenemos que agradecerle al Departamento de Policía por estar haciendo presencia en la comunidad,
We also want to thank the police department for being present in the community
porque creo que eso está ayudando bastante para mantener nuestra comunidad segura.
because I think that's helping a lot in order to keep our community safe.
Gracias, Dios les bendiga y felices fiestas.
Thank you, God bless, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, and I'm Ida Wolf, and I'm here representing the Costa Mesa Senior Center. I've been here before, and you have been very, very good to us. We appreciate it. What is not working in the senior center now is the ice machine in the kitchen. Now, they have fixed that more than once, but it's been out for 2 months now. And I don't know if they can't fix it, it's that old, they need to replace it, I do not know. But we really need the ice machine fixed in the kitchen or replaced. And also, we have blinds in the sunroom that do not work. We have 10 long windows in there that are very nice, and many of the blinds are broke. Now, they've fixed those many times, and they don't work. So they say that they can be fixed, but they're shredded out on the sides. I think those blinds were in there when they built the building. And it's like walking into a cave in the morning. So anyway, those are two things that really need to be fixed in the senior center. And before, you were really good. You fixed everything. We do have a small ice machine out in the sunroom, but it puts out little ice cubes, and a lot of times it isn't working, or else it's out of ice cubes. So I thought that that needed to be brought to your attention, and I thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Sí, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Carmen Ramírez. Soy residente de Costa Mesa por más de 32 años y estoy con el grupo Costa Mesa Unidos, que tenemos 2 años juntos, también con promotoras de salud que hemos estado trabajando y con la organización Resiliencia.
Good evening. My name is Carmen Ramirez, and I've been a resident of Costa Mesa for over 32 years. I am also part of Costa Mesa Unidos, and we've been together for about 2 years, and I'm also part of the Promotoras de Salud and the organization Resiliencia.
Quiero darle las gracias a cada uno de ustedes que está sentado ahí, que ha trabajado muy fuerte en pasar la ordenanza 567, que sé que se han desvelado, que han caminado con nosotros, que se han reunido con nosotros. Creo que nosotros nos sentimos parte de este triunfo junto a ustedes.
I want to thank each and every one of you that's in those seats because you've all walked together with us. You've worked really hard to pass Ordinance 567. I know you had a lot of sleepless night, but still you walked with us, you met with us, and we also feel part of this victory.
Solamente también darle las gracias por cada uno de los jóvenes que están aquí, que representan a nuestras escuelas, a nuestra comunidad, y que ellos también son parte de que sus familias han estado en este problema, viviendo día a día el tener que salirse de sus casas.
And I also want to thank all the youth that are here that are representing their schools and their communities because they're part of this right now. They're also part of families that have gone through this problem, who've had to leave their homes on a daily basis.
La ordenanza fue aprobada para nosotros para el 7 de noviembre. Desgraciadamente, muchas familias recibieron la carta el día 6 y esas familias están en el limbo, que no pueden recibir la ayuda. A mí me encantaría saber cómo trabajar con ellos, junto con ustedes, cómo pueden ellos recibir esa ayuda, o siquiera para que ellos tengan dónde pagar un fondo para irse a un departamento, ya que viven día a día y sin un seguro social y sin un crédito para aplicar a los nuevos departamentos.
The ordinance was passed on November 7th, and a lot of families received a letter on November 6th. And now those families are left in limbo without being able to get any help. So I would like to know, how we can work with them and how we can work with you all in order to get them help. How do we get them some help? How can we get them maybe some kind of funding so that they can go and get an apartment? Because a lot of them are living without a credit or without any social security numbers to be able to apply for these new places.
Y aquí estamos como grupo, como comunidad, para seguir trabajando junto a ustedes. Muchas gracias.
And we're here as a group and as a community to continue working with you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mark, you have the floor.
Good evening, Council. I just wanted to say happy holidays first and foremost, and good to see you all. Second, and just like I always do, want to acknowledge and shout out the high schoolers in the back. Last City Council of December means everyone's got to get their assignment in. Totally respect that. I just wanted to echo the value and the importance of local government. I come to every one of these city councilors, or damn near all of them, because it's incredibly important to have a voice in your community. If only people who are retired, only people who have income and wealth, only people who vote are coming to these, that's who these great and smart politicians are going to respond to, because they get to respond to the community needs that they hear. But I think we need to be the community who's out here saying we need affordable housing for students. We need to say that we need safer streets. We need a safer community altogether. And I want to just echo the value that I find in coming to these meetings, even if I'm just working on my laptop in the back for most of the time. Aside from that, I also wanted to mention AB 413 implementation. Many of you know on the state level, the state legislature and then the governor signed AB 413 into law, which says that you can't park immediately up against crosswalks. That's a vehicle code violation, and that's all it is right now in state law. But I would love, and I think Costa Mesa Alliance for Better Streets and a lot of street safety advocates in Costa Mesa have an expectation that the city of Costa Mesa do something on an infrastructure level to respond to that, to ensure that kids aren't having to peek out from behind the parked car when they're trying to cross at a crosswalk. Next thing I want to mention is I'm also personally hoping to see code section reform changes to the Costa Mesa codes for the way that we do our building and our permitting in Costa Mesa, specifically around parking minimums, but also setback requirements and design requirements that can make our buildings more pedestrian friendly and really oriented to the street and create a more livable community as well. Lastly, I just wanted to say, and this does connect to my day job, is that I see the 19th Street bike lanes, and I want to recognize staff for doing what they could with the constraints that they had. But I do feel like those constraints were imposed by OCTA because of the master plan of arterials and highways that they have arbitrarily created, the only transportation agency in the whole state that has this. And I would encourage our mayor, who now sits on the OCTA board, or even as we work with our state representatives, to do something about this document that OCTA has created that basically says cities cannot have safe streets in their own, don't have basically the ability to regulate the way their streets are, and can't say if they want a safer street or else money's going to get taken away from them for Measure M2. So I'd encourage the city to do more on that, and maybe you also work with the city of Santa Ana on that as well. Thank you, and have a good holiday season.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Sí, buenas noches, mi nombre es Berta Orozco, soy del Distrito 2. Estoy aquí porque les quiero pedir como más, yo vivo por la college, pero personas de ahí me han dicho que últimamente han mirado que andan muchachitos en bicicletas, chequeando los carros, y la verdad que a veces no miramos que aparece la policía, y hay personas que vienen tarde de trabajar y dicen que a veces les da miedo bajarse hasta de sus carros porque últimamente están mirando que andan muchos muchachitos que no son de ahí.
¿En qué parte, perdón?
Por la college. El Distrito 2.
Hi, good evening. My name is Berta Orozco, and I'm part of District 2, and I'm here today to ask, I'm near Cooley, and lately there's been people saying that they've been seeing these young people be coming around on bikes. They're coming around and they're checking on cars, and the police is sometimes coming by, but not always. And so people, they come home back late from work, and they're really scared. They've been saying that they're scared to even come out because lately they've been seeing a lot of these kids around there.
Hace unos días atrás que una persona me dijo que llamó a la policía porque había mirado esos muchachos y que la persona que, como ella habla español, que siempre la dejan en espera por mucho rato y a la última que le dijo, dice, no tenemos alguien que interprete ahorita, puedes llamar más al rato y no se me hace justo porque puede pasar algo y ella, pues, ¿por qué nosotros que hablamos español no nos hacen caso? Si pagamos igual impuestos.
And so a few days ago, I had somebody tell me that they called the police because they saw these guys again, and she's Spanish speaking, and she was waiting for a long time because they ended up telling her that they didn't have anybody to interpret for her until call back later, and I just don't think it's fair. What if something happens? And I just don't think it's fair that we're not being listened to as Spanish speakers. We are also paying for taxes as well.
Y también últimamente están haciendo muchos grafitis allí sobre los alleys y la verdad que teníamos tiempo que ya estamos tranquilos y la verdad que ahorita no podemos salir porque no sabemos si en el 7-Eleven han pasado cosas, que yo vivo enfrente, han pasado muchas cosas y ahorita no queremos ni salir ya cuando oscurece ya no salimos y la policía no se presenta, no anda rondando. Necesitamos seguridad que nos protejan.
And lately, there's been a lot of graffiti popping up in the alleyways, and we were calm for a little bit, things were calm for a little bit, but now we can't really go out. There's been a lot of things happening at 7-Eleven. I live right in front of 7-Eleven, so we don't go out after it gets dark because a lot of things are happening and the police is not showing up, they're not patrolling, so we need safety, we need security to protect us.
Por favor, les hago ese llamado, por favor que nos ayuden, porque pues tenemos que tener tranquilidad y más ahorita que son estas las fiestas y que no queremos que pasen cosas tristes, ¿me entiende? Por favor, les pido que por favor ronde la policía por ahí más seguido. Gracias.
And so please, this is a call to action to you all to help. We want to have peace of mind. The holidays are coming around. We don't want anything bad happening around the holidays. So please, we're asking you to have more police patrolling around the area. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Ana Zúñiga. He venido antes a estas juntas. Me gustaría agradecer a promotoras de salud por el apoyo personal que nos han dado y a ustedes como autoridad por aprobar la ordenanza que nos protege de ser desalojados. Recibí una carta de desalojo el día 6 de noviembre. Tendríamos que salirnos el 6 de enero. Y la manager nos ha estado acosando bastante con mensajes, con cosas y nos dice, tienen que salirse antes del 23 de diciembre. En un mensaje nos dijo esto. Nos ha estado diciendo, ¿cuándo nos entregan las llaves? Nos quiso decir que si queríamos aplicar para quedarnos nuevamente ahí, pero nos quiere aumentar la renta a 3,100 y quiere un depósito de 2,500. Le dije, ok, no puedo hacerlo por internet porque nos han estafado antes, mándamelo por carta. Y me dijo, ¿sabes qué? No calificas porque ustedes son 7 y en un departamento de 2 solamente son 5. Quise mandar el cheque y este cheque no lo devolvió. Yo pensando que ya estaba mi renta cubierta este mes y me da miedo que nos quedemos sin hogar. Somos 4 hijos que tengo, yo, mi esposo y mi suegro que ya está grande. Y si ella no me está dando oportunidad de quedarme en esos departamentos, ¿en qué otro lugar me van a dar esa oportunidad?
Good evening. My name is Ana, and I've been coming here. I'm a promotora de salud, and I want to thank you all as our representatives for having passed the eviction ordinance that protects us from being evicted. I got an eviction letter in November 6th, and we were told we needed to be out by January 6th. But the manager has been harassing us nonstop, sending us message and telling us things, saying things like we need to be out by December 23rd, sending us messages asking us questions about when we're turning in the keys. She tried to tell us and ask us if we were going to apply to stay there, but she wants to raise her rent to $3,100, and she wants a deposit of $2,500. And then I said, okay, well, I can't do it over the internet because I've been scammed before, so can we do it on paper? And she said, you know what, actually, you all don't qualify because there's 7 of you, and there should only be 5 in the apartment. And so I sent her a check, and then the check got sent back. So I thought I was covered for this month, but it seems like I may not be. And so I'm just really scared that we're going to end up without a place to live. I have 4 kids. It's me and my husband, as well as my father-in-law, who's older already. And I'm just thinking, you know, if this apartment's not giving us a chance, you know, what apartment is? Where else will we get a chance?
Cambiarse no es tan fácil. Tengo un hijo que está enfrente de la escuela de donde estoy viviendo. Son 2 de mis hijos que están ahí. Uno está recibiendo atención especial que me costó bastante tiempo que me la dieran en esa escuela. Tendría que buscar un lugar donde hubiera una escuela que me estén dando esa atención para mi hijo. Son problemas que tienes que estar cambiando, escuela, esto, lo otro, más aparte lidiar con problemas que están pasando y todavía lidiar con rentas, con personas que te están acosando. Yo creo que a veces es demasiado.
Moving is not easy, and I have kids in special schools that, you know, they're receiving help. I have a child that's receiving special education help, and it took me a really long time to get it at that school. So now I would need to find a place that has a school that can provide that for my kids. And on top of that, you know, it's just a lot of problems, not only just having to switch schools, but having to deal with, you know, finding a place to rent and being harassed. Sometimes it's just too much.
Muchas gracias por todo.
Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Ryan Agazor. Personally, recently, I've been experiencing a lot more acts of vandalism on my home, and I kind of feel bad because it's kind of hard for my mom to deal with this. She's single. She's living in California. She's one of the most hardworking people I've ever met, but now she's scared to go out at night. My little brother, he was playing in the street, and I guess for lack of a better term, he was being a brat, and someone walking past didn't like that very much, and he grabbed his hand and everything and tried looking for whoever was taking care of the kid. And the fact that my mom has to be so scared now when she comes home from work and everything, it's not something that I appreciate. And she's hardworking. She's an immigrant. She moved here on her own, and she built a family, built a house, and it's something I'm very appreciative of. But it just sucks that she has to deal with this, and I'd like for that to be better, maybe better safety and everything like that. I'd very much appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see anybody else in council that wants to speak. Do we have anyone on Zoom, Madam Clerk?
Yes, phone number ending in 613, please.
613, you have the floor.
Yes, hi. I'm calling about the West 19th Street single lane between Pomona and Monrovia. I'm still trying to understand what the council was thinking when they ruined 2 perfectly good lanes of traffic and turned it into 1 lane. It's absolutely unnecessary, and we have a state budget shortfall of $58 billion with a B. And so this project, I'm assuming, cost well more than $1 million to do, and we wasted it. We wasted a perfectly good street so that you guys can satisfy the Costa Mesa Alliance for Better Streets, or the CMABS. Now, if you go onto Nextdoor app and you read the comments about what the residents who are the stakeholders think of what was done to westbound 19th Street, there's not anyone who's in support of it except the members of Costa Mesa Alliance for Better Streets. This city council needs to stop listening to these people. You guys put traffic circles all throughout the city, neglecting to do safety studies. And fire trucks had to get stuck in these intersections for you guys to remove these traffic circles. I also am concerned that this city council majority, and this is important for the students to listen to in the back, I'm concerned that this city council majority is out of touch with reality. They have no idea on how to create something that actually works. If we look at your record, traffic circles, failure. West 19th Street, failure. Permit parking program, failure. You even got referred to the DA for fraud by omission. And you guys got an award for this? If you talk to any resident who's part of this permit program, they're not satisfied. You guys lied to us about Measure K. You didn't need Measure K. We could have fought Measure. We could have fought the governor who's run our state into the ground, except you guys run to his side and support everything he does. Students in the back, you need to pay attention to the doublespeak that this council does. They are not good leaders. They are pushing an agenda that's not going to benefit the long-term health of the city. The previous speaker talked about livability by adding residents to a community. If you add more and more people, the community becomes unlivable. This council, for some reason, is hell-bent on running us into a wall of destruction and making our community unlivable. We're going to have probably 30,000 more residents in the city because of the city council and Measure K. 30,000. That is going to destroy everything in this city. This council has to be hands down one of the worst councils that this city has ever had. And I hope in the new year, the residents begin to wake up and get fed up with these absolute terrible decisions that are ruining our beloved Costa Mesa.
Thank you. That's your time.
Next speaker is Hank Castanetti.
Hank, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, staff, and fine residents of Costa Mesa. I'm Hank Castagnetti, and from the Orange County Model Engineers, we maintain and operate the Mackerel Flats and Goat Hill Junction Railroad in beautiful Fairview Nature Park. By the way, Brenda, you can put up the first slide, and I'll let you know when to change it.
The slides are up.
I can't see them on my. Oh, there we go. This year has been a very busy one at the railroad. Through November, we have given 36,362 free rides to local residents, which sets an all-time annual rider record for the club. And remember that every rider gets to enjoy and view the park's abundant natural resources without ever intruding upon them. This month, OCME is presenting their annual Christmas event. Santa Claus is coming to the railroad this month on the 16th and 17th, and he is inviting you to travel to the North Pole aboard our express trains. All trains depart from Goat Hill Junction Station, make their way to under the trestle before arriving at the North Pole Station, tucked away in our festive pine tree forest. Once at the North Pole, you can take pictures with Santa and Mrs. Claus, enjoy the crisp cool air, have cocoa and cookies, and then reboard the train back to Goat Hill Junction. And we can do all that in the course of a 15 to 20-minute ride. Yep, Santa is truly magic. Slide, please. And the best part is that the rides and pictures with Santa and Mrs. Claus are absolutely free.
Can you switch the slide?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
But your donations keep the railroad and these special events chugging all year. So please consider donating before you ride. OCME respectfully suggests $5 per group for this event. After all, we had to lay a lot of track to get all the way to the North Pole. So don't miss your chance to ride. No tickets or reservations are required. Occasionally, we do find longer wait times based on an influx of passengers, and your patience is always appreciated as our volunteers work hard to get you and your train and steaming around the layout. Trains run from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., weather permitting. All riders must be at least 31 inches tall and capable of walking on their own. Santa and Mrs. Claus will be unavailable between 1 and 2 p.m. while they feed their reindeer, and they must leave promptly at 3 for a very important health meeting. For more details and to join the club, please visit our website at ocmetrains.org. All the volunteer members of the Orange County Model Engineers wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and the best New Year ever. You and your little ones are why we have been doing this for over 30 years. Thank you, folks. See you all next year.
Thanks, Hank. Merry Christmas.
Becca Walls, please.
Becca, you have the floor.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for your time. Becca Walls, the Animal Service Committee, again, asking for an update on the animal services contracts. We are now 26 days till we no longer have a contract. There hasn't been any update to the committee about what's going on with that. I asked in the previous meeting for staff to help the police department. It shouldn't just fall on the police. I was told that it would be the finance department. I understand they're busy as well, but it seems that now we really are in an emergency situation, and I'm just hoping that there's more than we're just working on it as an update. Because again, we're up to 26 days and we're gonna hit a new year, and I see that you guys are trying to get the council meeting on January 2nd canceled, and this is our only meeting for this month. So a lot to do in the next 26 days, minus all the holidays and breaks and all that good stuff. So please get on that. Please support the police department to get on that, and please get something done as soon as possible and make it public. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Priscilla.
Priscilla, you have the floor.
Priscilla, please.
Priscilla?
There we go.
Got
Can
it.
you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
All right, thank you. In France in 1940, a teenager and his friends investigated a hole left by a toppled tree. They descended 50 feet into a cave, but they were actually stepping back in time, for on the walls and ceilings were paintings of horses, deer, and bulls created by Paleolithic humans. Lascaux Cave was opened to the public in 1948. 1,200 visitors came daily, and with each breath brought carbon dioxide, heat, humidity, and other contaminants. By 1955, the paintings were showing damage. By 1963, it was closed. Before Lascaux was a World Heritage Site, scientists knew it was a treasure. What they didn't know was the damage people could do. Which brings me to Fairview Park, where your kids can walk in the footsteps of the Ashaman Nation, seeing the same birds, animals, and plants. The archaeology sites are there, but they are covered by builder's rubble. The paths are being torn up by teenagers on e-bikes, and the watersheds of the vernal pools are being trampled by men flying planes. Fairview is the only park where vandalism is allowed. This is being documented in the update to the Fairview Park Master Plan. November 8th, Travis Brooks, a restoration ecologist, described the hundreds of species of birds, butterflies, lizards, amphibians, snakes, and fairy shrimp that Fairview Park supports. Aerial photos show the damage over time. He explained what would be lost if restoration isn't approved by and funded by the City Council, but no council members attended. When the presentation focused on the vernal pools, a leader of the Harbor Sorting Society, who doesn't even live in Costa Mesa, rose to his feet. Despite the fact that this small group's operations and much of their flying occurs in Newport Beach, he threatened to oust from office any member of our City Council who votes to oust them from the park. Why did our council vote for HSS and against the scientists at the California and United States Departments of Fish and Wildlife, the biologists they hired, the Fairview Park Steering Committee they appointed, their Fairview Park administrator, and the 800 members and experts of the Fairview Park Alliance? Curious. Kids need to put down their devices and spend time in nature. For their sake, take a tour with Travis Brooks, follow the restoration plans, and save this outdoor classroom. Assign park rangers while our treasures can still be saved. HSS can fly their planes in Newport Beach. Ensure the white-tailed kite fly uninterrupted in Fairview Park again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cynthia McDonald, please.
Ms. McDonald, you have the floor.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. I'm sorry, I'm under the weather and I couldn't be there in the council chambers and I missed the presentation to Paula Tomei. I had a brief tenure at SCR as the office manager, but Paula was one of the most generous and gracious and professional components of a team that works behind the scenes to bring wonderful presentations to the audiences of SCR. So congratulations to her. Now, I understand there is a study session next week concerning housing issues, including the Fairview Developmental Center specific plan. I previously requested that the City Council appoint an advisory committee, as many other governmental entities have done, to develop a draft plan. The County of Sonoma did so for FDC's sister developmental center, and the results were well thought out and a comprehensive document. Our city has a history of using citizen advisory committees to develop draft plans that were later adopted by the City Council and incorporated into our general plan. The most recent example is the 2018 Active Transportation Plan. The then Bikeway and Walkability Committee worked diligently and brought diverse perspectives and local knowledge that resulted in a better document. The process, while expeditious due to time constraints, increased transparency and built trust with the community. The informed decision-making made the goals targeted by the plan more realistic while being tailored to our local context, which led to more effective and sustainable outcomes. In summary, involving a citizens advisory committee and drafting a specific plan for a city enhances the democratic process and ensures that local perspectives are considered and ultimately leads to a more robust and community-supported plan. Again, I urge you to appoint a citizens advisory committee for the drafting of the FDC specific plan. Happy holidays to you and staff, and we'll see you next year. Thank you.
No further speakers, Mr. Mayor.
All right, close public comment. Now's the time for council member, committee reports, comments, and suggestions. And so we try to, as a guideline, have it be 3 minutes per council member. And we're going to start off in District 4 with Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. To all students here for your government class, welcome. If you need one more class, there's one more meeting next week for the budget. So, real quick, I have 4 requests, 2 invitations, and 1 gratitude. Real quickly, city staff, if we could just address the issue for the seniors, if we can get the blinds and the ice machine fixed, I appreciate that. Second, I want everyone in the audience, if they can, to pull out their phone. I want everyone in the audience to download Costa Mesa 311. So go on your, go on the App Store, go on Google Play for Android. Do you have a phone? If you have one of the packets, it'll be on there. But it's called Costa Mesa 311. Costa Mesa 311 is what I want all you guys to use when you see graffiti. That's what Apple wants you guys to use when you see anything suspicious. If you don't feel comfortable calling the police, but it's something that's a bit minor, like graffiti or a light's broken, use that app. As young people, you guys see more of the city than any of us do. So I know today we heard a lot about issues concerning safety. You guys should be our eyes and ears. So once again, Costa Mesa 311. For city staff, I actually want to challenge us. I know we're going to do a budget review next week, and I'm going to give you a preview of what I'm going to ask for. I want to see if we can install lights on every alleyway. One of the common things I've heard is that people don't feel safe going in alleyways. Let's see if we can install more lights in those places to make sure people feel more comfortable in their community. And finally, with that note, on the public safety end, I do want to invite everyone to come, if they want to, this Thursday to the Norma Herzog Center, next to Lions Park, next to the new library. I'll be having a chat with the chief in my district. So everyone that has concerns, that has things they want to mention, please go there. But if everyone in this room could just start using Costa Mesa 311 and reporting things they see, I promise you will make a difference a lot more quickly and effectively. So thank you all for doing that. Going on with invitations, I also want to invite everyone to come to Snoopy House next Friday. I know, going from extreme to positivity. But it's holiday season. If you have little ones, little siblings, little cousins, bring them to the City Hall, 5:30 p.m. next Friday. We'll have a little celebration, hot chocolate, and Snoopy House for a couple weeks. I also want to let those in the public know that CalOptima, the county's healthcare system, is actually going to be changing the rules for their program coverage. Starting January 1st, the state of California is allowing undocumented residents of California to get on Medicaid and Medicare. So if you know anyone that may fit in that category, they qualify for Medicare and Medi-Cal in California, in Orange County. So, quick rundown. City staff, I want to see us fix the stuff for the seniors. I want to see us get more lights going in the alleyways. Members of the public, I want to see you guys using the Costa Mesa 311 app when you see things that are bad. I want to invite everyone out to go to Snoopy House for a positive time. And again, if you need help with one more meeting for your government class, come next Tuesday. But with that, those are my comments. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. From District 2, Councilmember Lauren Gameros.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just going to have a very, very brief report. I just wanted to wish everybody a happy holiday as we reflect on what's happened in the past and what we can look forward to in the future. And I also want to thank our police and fire as we tend to shut down during the holidays. They are definitely going to be on the clock serving and protecting our community. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. From District 3, Councilmember Marr.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So I couldn't help but see the expressions on some of your faces when some of the comments were coming through. And really, that's democracy, right? There's people who hate us and think every decision we make is terrible. There's people who like us. There's people who have no interaction whatsoever with city government. This is why we're here. This is why it's important that you all are here observing this process, like it or not. This is it. This is how the city actually works. I think one of the things that's important, and that part of the reason our council meetings go until midnight or 1 a.m. is that we all think it's really important to explain our decision making, to make sure people understand why we voted the way we did. And so, I know that we've been trying to take some measures to make council meetings shorter. I agree with them generally speaking, but I also think that's something that I celebrate and I'm grateful for about this council is that none of us are up here just trying to score points. We're trying to make sure we're making the best policy possible. On that, actually, Councilmember Reynolds, I think a couple of meetings ago, talked about a public education campaign around some of the work that we're doing related to street calming. I think we witnessed one of our fellow council members who's not here tonight, try to understand publicly why we were doing some of the things that we were doing, and we had to explain to them why the street calming works the way it does. I think some of the comments you heard tonight, there's still questions about why we're taking some of the actions we are. I think the fact is in the last 3 years, we have done more than in the previous 60 years in this city to make life safer for people who are not getting around by car. So that's pedestrians, that's cyclists, that's also people who need to use the ramps on our sidewalks because they're mobility constrained. And so that's a priority for us. It's something we've talked a lot about. It's something we've tried to explain to the public, but to the extent we can continue that public education campaign, I would be supportive of anything we could do as a city. I am very proud of all of those actions. I think we've made the city fundamentally better for thinking about people who are not in cars, and we'll continue, so long as we're up here, we'll continue to keep pushing on those things. But we need to make clear as possible for the folks on next door who don't have the pleasure of sitting through a council meeting like you all, what it is that we're doing and trying to accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you. The aforementioned Councilmember Reynolds from District 5.
Okay.
Great, thank you for those comments. I'm going to add a little bit to the maybe public participation. How many of you here own a car, if you raise your hand? How many of you own a bike? How many of you can walk? Maybe not all, but most, right? And so that's exactly what we're trying to do with a lot of the different infrastructure you've probably seen around your neighborhood, some green paint on the streets, these green posts that are sticking out in the middle of the streets, kind of widening widening concrete at intersections, all of those things that we're doing to try to make it safer for people who walk in the city, which is almost 100% of Costa Mesa residents. Certainly, most people who aren't even old enough to have a driver's license in this city. So again, I'm just like Councilmember Marchard, I'm really proud of that work. And I've rode on one of our new bike lanes today to meet one of our staff members for lunch and continue to hear really positive feedback. And I'm seeing the increase in folks who are getting out on their bike and who are walking in our city. And we really want to encourage you to do that. Okay, a couple quick updates. Last weekend, I participated in the Labors for Love holiday edition. So Labors of Love is a relatively new volunteer program in the city of Costa Mesa. So if you're looking to get some volunteer hours in, this is a monthly opportunity to do a service project in Costa Mesa. The holiday edition was 22 service projects where folks got together, had a big hurrah, and then split out and did service projects for vulnerable residents in our city. So we helped weed people's lawns where there was overgrown lawn, but they weren't able to take care of it themselves. And there were also projects where volunteers put up Christmas lights for seniors, for example, who weren't able to do that due to mobility restrictions. So a really wonderful volunteer opportunity, makes you feel good, makes the residents who receive that support feel really good. Those projects happen on the first Saturday of every month. And I really encourage you, no skills required, but you might actually learn skills there. Really encourage you to participate in those projects going forward. And I'm so thankful for the team at Trellis who's leading that work. I wanted to give a couple updates from our committees. Our Mobile Home Advisory Committee met last week. So just a couple updates for council and the public to be aware of. That committee has done a really great job compiling resources that are relevant and important to the residents of mobile home communities. They've adopted a dispute resolution process, which is one of the primary goals when the committee was formed, and they're working on a communication plan to get that information out to all of the residents of our mobile home parks. So I'm really proud of the work that committee is doing, and I'll keep providing those updates at these meetings. Tomorrow is our last active transportation committee meeting of the year, and one of the discussions is the pedestrian master plan. So another opportunity to learn more about what we're doing and what we plan to continue to do to make the city safer for pedestrians. Couple quick thank yous. Thank you to, I saw the chief out there, Chief Lawrence and Deputy Chief LaPointe for attending the holiday luncheon with Human Options. I'm really proud of that relationship that we've built between our police department and our city and the organization at Human Options. Human Options is a very, very important and effective agency working to end relationship violence. I'm always struck by the unfortunate numbers of how frequent and common relationship violence is, but Human Options provides resources to help people get out of those situations. One more kudos to our planning team. I've had a few meetings in the last couple of weeks with folks working on projects in the city, and they volunteered how helpful and professional our staff are. And so we often don't hear the positives, and so I just wanted to pass that along because it's really, really, really good to hear from folks who are doing business in the city. And then just one quick ask related to lights. I know there was some, I believe, vandalism on the Joanne Trail, so now it's essentially pitch black. I've gotten some comments who use that trail frequently for their daily commute. If there's anything we can do in emergency capacity just to get some lighting out there, even if temporary, I think that would be a really important safety action. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Now from District 6, our Mayor Pro Tem, Jeffrey Harlan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to give a brief update from the last time we met. It's actually been a very busy month as we're in the holiday season. First up, I think at the last meeting I announced that Harper Park on the east side was, or at least Harper Fields was back open. And that is true. What I do want to do is clarify, though, for the community that the Harper Fields are part of the school district. They own that property. In fact, they also own Harper Park. The city has an agreement with the school district to use that park. So park is always available. School grounds are to be used by the public after school hours. And most importantly, keep your dogs on leashes at all times. We have a park ranger out there now monitoring, trying to make sure people understand what the rules are, but we want to make sure that people use the park properly and still enjoy it. Also wanted to note a few events that have happened. I think it was Northgate opening was after we last met. Yes, tremendous activity over there. The Gonzalez families did an amazing job adding this new investment to our community. It is wildly popular, so much so that I couldn't even take my daughter there when she came home from break because it was too packed. So we're going to have to wait for the crowds to clear out and come back in a few weeks. But it is an amazing addition to Costa Mesa, and we're very proud of that. And I want to thank staff also for helping to get that to the finish line. Also wanted to note it's always a good start to the holiday season with the Segerstrom tree lighting ceremony in South Coast Metro. And then, as was noted by Supervisor Foley Staffer, the mayor and I and Carol Crane, who's with the school board trustee, participated in the supervisor's food drive at Back Bay High School. And then lastly, I don't want to bring this down in any way, but I think it's a good contrast. I know for a lot of people, October 7th seems like a faint memory. For the Jewish community, it's still very much present. There are 136 hostages still in Gaza. That's 59 days in captivity, if you're counting. And while I appreciate the fact that there are some who have returned, they're not returning to the same life that they had before. And so I bring that up not only to keep it present, but also to acknowledge that we get to enjoy certain freedoms and liberties and safety in this country. It's especially true during the holiday season. So I want to wish everybody who celebrates Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So for my part, yes, congratulations to Northgate, and it's great to have the students here, but anybody who hasn't been to the Mercado, please go there. You might just have to fight through the crowds because I think the Mayor Pro Tem is going to wait a while before there's no crowds at the Mercado, if that's what his idea is. So in terms of like what Councilmember Marr and Councilmember Reynolds were talking about, and even one of our callers about some of the improvements we've made, I just want the members of the public, just think about Placentia for a second. So I remember one of my first votes that I had, it was two police chiefs ago, and we voted to put the medians on there. This was all the way back in 2017. And at the time, Placentia was a very dangerous street. We had a lot of accidents, including deaths on Placentia. We put the medians in. The police chief at the time assured me that that was a good thing to do, and we did it. And then now we've narrowed the lanes, and we've put in, as you can see, new pavement and our bollards and our bike lanes. And as I drive Placentia a lot, and I know that my speed has gone way down. Everybody's speed has gone way down. And as the speed goes down, the safety goes up, not just for bikers and walkers, but also for cars. So as Councilmember Marr said, we've done that work over about the last 8 years, but we've made a lot of progress over the last 5 years. And I want to mention one thing too. Today is a momentous day in the history of Costa Mesa, maybe one of the most important days in the history of Costa Mesa, because in 2018, on December 5th, Councilmember Marr, Councilmember Reynolds, and Councilmember Chavez were sworn in to the city of Costa Mesa City Council. And that was a game changer. That changed everything in the city. So let's hear it for them. I'm not done. I want to report on and I'm going to take a little bit longer than 3 minutes because this is pretty important. So we've been talking about Fairview Developmental Center, and in particular, we've talked about the Emergency Operations Center that has been planned and proposed by the state of California to go into 15 acres at Fairview Developmental Center. And the city council and myself and the city manager have taken a position that we'd like them to relocate that, have that go someplace else. So I wrote a letter to the governor, and then just yesterday, because of Cotta Petrie Norris, she got us an audience with the director of Emergency Services, the director of Department of General Services, and the deputy director of what's called DDS, Department of Developmental Services. And we went up to Sacramento at Mather, the site of the Emergency Operations Center of the Northern California. We had a pitch book in hand. The city manager and I did our best to try to convince the powers that be to locate the Emergency Services Center someplace else. The only bad news I have to report is that it's not going to happen. They are very adamant that this, for various reasons, which I'm not going to cover here, they are very strident that Emergency Operations Center will be at Fairview Developmental Center. However, the good news is there's a lot of good news. Number one is they're not going to have a helipad, which is a thing that we very much were concerned about. There is going to be a tower, which we were concerned about, but it's going to be decorated like a tree, like you see so many cell phone towers. We also have a great ongoing relationship where the Emergency Services Department is going to come down and describe exactly what they're doing. And they spent a lot of time, and we toured the Mather site, and the city manager and I spent a lot of, and the assembly member, learning exactly what they do up there. And so I want to share with you some of the misconceptions that were corrected in my mind. It's basically a place where there's a lot of offices and conference rooms. There are conference rooms that we sat in. For example, that's where the governor sits when he meets with his cabinet. There's a conference room where the governor gets briefings. There's a conference room where people gather that are high up in the state government. Also, agencies like the Red Cross and law enforcement and fire, when they make decisions when we do have emergencies in the state of California. I dubbed the area as a information gathering and decision making hub. So when it is at full force, the major impact to the surrounding areas is going to be parking. The parking lot's going to be filled. There's going to be items in the warehouse that would be used if there was an emergency locally. There's these similar warehouses are all throughout the state. We don't even know that they exist. We are trying to work with the state of California to coordinate our efforts to deliver housing to the community and the developmental services community and this Emergency Operations Center in a way that's cohesive, and we're going to be continuing to work with them. The last thing I'll say is there's not going to be any barbed wire. They're going to work with us in terms of the environmental look of the site. So I came away from the meeting somewhat disappointed that they weren't receptive to having it someplace else, but otherwise very encouraged that we started a good relationship. And we have the position where now we have an open dialogue, and to the extent that there are concerns that we have points of contact, and we can address that. So thank you to Cotta Petrie Norris for setting that up. And finally, I have really something very sad to report, but we're going to adjourn the meeting on behalf of Coach Tim T.J. Hicks. He was a coach in the Matt Leinart Football League. He died on November 17th while coaching his team. Coach Hicks collapsed on the field at Jack Hammett Sports Complex. Despite immediate response from medical personnel, he died before arriving at the hospital. Coach Hicks was an integral asset to the league for nearly a decade, dedicating himself to coaching and mentoring young athletes. His commitment extended beyond his own children as he volunteered to coach multiple teams after his kids left the program, including a girls' team, even though he never had a daughter, showcasing his selfless devotion to the sport and to our community. His girls' team kept talking about how much you could tell he loved the game of football, and that's what made them love the game of football. It was common to find Coach Hicks on the field for an 8 p.m. game at 4 p.m. just to watch, a place he referred to as his country club. It is with a heavy heart that we reflect on the positive impact Coach Hicks had on countless players over the years. His coaching career with the league leaves an enduring legacy, as his absence will be deeply felt. He is survived by his wife, Cindy, sons Jackson and Sam, mother Melinda, and sister Amy. We extend our condolences to his family, friends, and all those who had the privilege of knowing, working, or playing with and or for Coach Hicks. Tonight, we adjourn the meeting in his honor and memory. And with that, I'll turn it over to our city manager. I also think it would be good to have a report on what we're doing with the animal services contract.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and esteemed members of the public. Thank you, Mayor, for acknowledging the contributions of Coach Hicks. I know at the staff level, we're also very sad about his passing and express our condolences as well. Just a couple of updates on happenings at the city. As you know, tonight is our last regular city council meeting of 2023. We do have one study session that will be held a week from tonight on December 12th, right here at 5 p.m. on the topic of housing, a very important topic for our community, this council, and of course, city staff. The purpose of the study session is to discuss the rollout of the housing programs that are included in the city's housing element, which is our document to the state that reflects how we plan on meeting the need that we have statewide for additional housing, especially affordable housing. And then we'll also provide some feedback that we've received from recent housing workshops that we've had regarding Fairview Developmental Center. And so looking forward to that. All of the remaining steps in the housing planning process will be shared along with milestones, additional opportunities for community input, and the city's consultants, PlaceWorks, will also be present, and they'll be providing information about the financing of market rate and affordable housing projects and a realistic timetable for development of FDC. As we know, FDC is our largest opportunity, single largest opportunity for additional affordable housing development in the city. And so we'll all be looking forward to that presentation next week. I also wanted to mention that Snoopy House will be back better than ever. Every year we try to build just a little bit more on Snoopy House. It's my favorite event of the year. We'll have snow again, which always makes me very happy. And it's just a little bit of snow. And so we'll be back on December 15th through December 22nd from 5:30 to 8:30 daily here at City Hall. We'll have our beautiful lights once again, as well as music. There'll be a snow area, as I mentioned, pictures with Santa Claus, and nightly stage performances, train rides, letters to Santa, and food vendors. And our event is free, so we invite you all to join us at Snoopy House. And special thanks to our events coordinator, Francine Jimenez, and our recreation supervisor, Monique Villaseñor, and the staff of the Parks and Community Services and the Public Works maintenance crews for always getting Snoopy House up and ready and City Hall ready as well for the holidays. And so thank you for the teams that put that all together. Now on to some more holiday news. Costa Mesa Fire and Rescue has officially launched this year's Firefighters Annual Toy Drive campaign, which runs through December 23rd. And for those interested in making the holiday season a little brighter for a child in need, please bring any new unwrapped toy, that's any new unwrapped toy or sports equipment, to your local fire station. And please remember the toy or sports equipment needs to be, again, new and unwrapped and in the original packaging or box. You can also drop off any new unwrapped toys at Costa Mesa City Hall as well. And one other reminder that City Hall will be closed for the Christmas and New Year's holidays beginning Friday, December 22nd. We'll be back open to the public on Tuesday, January 2nd. And next, I'll turn over to Carol Molina, who's been our lead on the animal services contract and has been working feverishly to secure us some services before the contract expires at the end of the year. So I'll turn over to Carol.
Thank you, Lorianne. I just want to do a quick update on the animal services. As you know, we've been working diligently with multiple areas to try to secure a temporary contract. We are currently in talks to finalize that contract, and my hope is to finalize a temporary contract by the end of this week. We received a final proposal last night that staff is currently reviewing, and we hope to get that finalized here in the next couple of days.
And just for clarification, we believe it'll be a short-term contract well within my authority, and so we'll be able to act on this immediately without needing for it to come back to council.
Yeah, and we will be providing the city council with a memo once that contract is finalized, so you will all be aware of where that contract will be and the amounts of that contract as we finalize the final procurement process in the next month or so.
Thank you. Anything else? We're good? Okay. City Attorney report, Ms. Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have anything to report this evening other than to wish everyone the happiest of holiday seasons.
All right, thank you very much. Let's move on to the consent calendar. So the consent calendar is considered to be routine matters that are acted upon in one motion unless an item is pulled by a member of the public or a council member or a staff member. And so we're going to note the recusal of Councilmember Camaros on item number 3. And beside that, do we have anyone who has pulled anything?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, a member of the public, Cynthia McDonald, has pulled CC 11.
Okay.
And then also Mr. Seth Rahman has a statement regarding CC 9.
Okay, well, why don't we do this? I tell you what, let's do this. Does the statement have anything to do with our vote, or do you want to do it before the vote?
Yes.
Okay, let's do the statement, and then we'll move the balance, and then we'll do number 11. You have the floor, Director Seth Rahman.
Mr. Mayor, Member of City Council, late yesterday we received some comments from OCTA on one of the attachments to this agenda report. So attachment number 2 has some changes that were provided to you today as a memo, and it's also provided to the public. So we just want to make sure that it is reflected in the minutes and your approval.
Okay, noted. Fair enough. Okay, let's get a motion for the balance.
Move the balance.
We have Councilmember seconded by Councilmember Chavez. Let's call for the question.
Motion carries 6-0.
Great. Okay, now let's go with consent calendar item number 11. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title?
Thank you. This is the open space easement deed and agreement with the Press Owner LLC, and Cynthia McDonald pulled this
Okay.
item.
All right, then let's open it up for public comment.
She's via Zoom. Cynthia McDonald via Zoom, please.
Ms. McDonald, you have the floor.
Hello again. First of all, I'm really excited to see this trail opening up because it was something that Raja Setharaman and I discussed many, many years ago, probably around 2013, when we were doing the general plan update and reviewing the master plan of bikeways. We knew that the LA Times would be moving out and that this rail line would no longer be used by the future occupant. So what we'd seen in other parts of the country was the conversion of rail lines to bicycle trails to multi-user trails. And so to see this multi-user trail finally come to fruition is really great. I had some concerns. I contacted Mr. Setharaman earlier today because it appeared that the trail would be closing at dusk, which dusk today was 4:44 p.m. Most people get off at 5 o'clock from their jobs, so you would not be able to use that trail as part of your evening commute. But I now understand in email correspondence with him that that will be the earlier or the later of 6 p.m. or sunset. And so if he could confirm that, that would be greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you. Can you confirm that?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, the agreement actually calls for the city to designate the times. While we specified dawn to dusk, it just say that the city has a right to designate the time. So we'll work with the grantor to make sure that the trail remains open until 6 p.m. or sunset, whichever is later.
That sounds great. Okay, is there anybody else that wants to speak to this? Closed public comment. Okay, unless there's, we got a motion by Councilmember Reynolds, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Harlan. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
I'll verbalize the motion.
Yeah.
And I just want to articulate this. So obviously move staff recommendation with the clarification that the trail opening times would extend 7 days a week, dawn to the later of 6 p.m. and sunset. Yeah. I don't need to speak to it.
That's good. Okay, and the second concurs. So let's call for the question. Oh, thought I voted.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, great. So we got done with the consent calendar. It's a little before 8. What do you say, Council? Press on or take a break? Press on. Okay. Remember, we're flipping number 2 to number 1. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title?
Okay, this is first reading of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Costa Mesa, California, amending Title 13, Planning, Zoning, and Development of the Costa Mesa Municipal Code relating to outdoor dining. Staff presentation by Ms. Lee, Director of Economic and Development Services.
Ms. Lee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I am pleased this evening to introduce Assistant Planner Caitlin Curley. This is her first time in front of the council. She is an amazing planner that we stole from Newport Beach, and we're very proud to have her. She'll be giving the presentation this evening, and I'll be jumping in where necessary.
Okay, so I have a moment of personal privilege that I want to exercise here because Caitlin Curley is the daughter of Bob Curley, and he played on my first Little League team when we were both 9 years old. I think Bobby, we used to call him at the time. Bobby might have been 8 and I was 9. So I go way back with your dad, and it's really wonderful to work with you. Give him my regards, as always. So, Ms. Curley, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I am Caitlin Curley, Assistant Planner, and today I am presenting a code amendment to our outdoor dining provisions. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the City Council approved Urgency Ordinance 2020-15 on June 2nd, 2020. This emergency ordinance streamlined the approval of outdoor dining areas and suspended development standards and parking requirements. Outdoor dining was permitted in courtyards, walkways, parking lots, and in certain areas of the public right-of-way. Staff issued 49 permits under this program. Site visits conducted by staff indicate that of the 49 TUPs, 22 are currently active. Of these active permits, the majority, that's 9, are located within courtyards and walkways, with the second most common location being private parking spaces at 7 outdoor dining areas. The Planning Commission reviewed a draft ordinance on November 13th of 2023. The Planning Commission recommended City Council adopt staff's draft ordinance with the following modifications: to increase the threshold of removed parking spaces which require a minor conditional use permit from 2 spaces or 10% to 5 spaces or 25%, whichever is less. To modify barrier requirements by prohibiting temporary materials, limiting barrier height to 5 feet, and permitting only the first 3.5 feet to be solid, and to add an operational standard that addresses potential parking-related issues for all establishments with an outdoor dining area. Here we have an example of an outdoor dining area that could be located within the front setback of a restaurant. This is an example of an outdoor dining area that could be located within a courtyard, or in this case, an over-wide walkway, still providing the required path of travel to the parking spaces. And this is an example of an outdoor dining area located within a parking lot that takes up 25%, or in this case of the scenario, 2 spaces of the parking lot. As part of the proposed ordinance, some development standards include that outdoor dining areas will be exempt from required parking. They would not be permitted to encroach into drive aisles or required site circulation. Barriers or improvements will be required to match the design aesthetics of existing or proposed buildings, and landscaping will be required around outdoor dining areas. Specifically within setback areas, specific development standards include a requirement to maintain a 3-foot wide landscape barrier around the outdoor dining area and prohibiting barriers from visually enclosing the dining area. Within private parking lots, specific development standards include a requirement for outdoor dining areas to comply with all parking design standards. This includes parking stall dimensions, turn radiuses, and other requirements. Additionally, barriers could not visually enclose the dining area. And finally, new proposed outdoor dining areas could receive a parking credit of up to 5 parking spaces or 25% of required parking spaces, whichever is less. As part of the proposed code amendment, staff recommends the following streamlined approval process. At the staff level approval, or as part of a plan check, outdoor dining areas and courtyards or over wide walkways. In setbacks, outdoor dining areas that result in an up to 50% increase in existing restaurant public area. And in parking areas, outdoor dining that results in an up to 50% increase in public area and does not remove more than 5 parking spaces or 25% of existing required parking, whichever is less. However, with an approved minor conditional use permit, outdoor dining areas could be permitted within setbacks with more than a 50% increase in public area, and within parking areas with a more than 50% increase in public area, or the removal of more than 5 parking spaces, or the removal of more than 25% of existing required parking, whichever is less. Existing restaurants with previously approved TUPs could continue to operate as originally approved, subject to compliance with building, fire, and minimum access and circulation requirements, and the aesthetic design standards provided in the ordinance. Staff will also proactively contact and assist these restaurants by forming an interdepartmental customer service team that consists of a planner, building staff, and the fire marshal. Staff recommends the following clarification to Table 13-47B to clarify requirements for existing outdoor dining areas in drive aisles. Specifically, we recommend footnote 1 of the said table to read temporary use permits for outdoor dining areas, including parklets within the public right-of-way, approved through urgency ordinance 2020-15, may continue to operate with staff approval. However, shall comply with applicable building and fire code requirements, may not interfere with minimum required site access or circulation, and shall comply with aesthetic development standards outlined in section 13-48 within 6 months from the time of ordinance adoption, within an allowed 6-month extension of time. Outdoor dining areas approved under a temporary use permit shall also be subject to applicable fees. Any modification to these outdoor dining areas shall be approved pursuant to this article. This recommendation is in response to numerous public comments indicating concern about preserving the outdoor dining areas currently approved within drive aisles. To conclude, staff recommends that the City Council find that this project is exempt from the provisions of CEQA pursuant to the general rule, and give first reading to an ordinance approving a zoning code amendment, amending Title 13 of the Costa Mesa Municipal Code regarding outdoor dining provisions with the staff recommended modifications. Thank you very much. Staff is available for questions at this time.
And council, if I can add quickly, Caitlin, would you mind pulling up slide 23? This is just a clarification regarding the public comments received on semi-tropic wine specifically. I wanted to show the site plan just to make clear that the approved outdoor dining areas here are shown in red, and the drive aisle that customers and employees use here is shown in the white crosshatch, and that is what was approved as part of their temporary use permit. The outdoor dining area doesn't block access. It isn't located in a drive aisle. There is no driveway in that location. So I just wanted to clarify that point on semi-tropic wines for the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so some council members, I think, might have some questions. Mayor Pro Tem.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for that presentation, Caitlin. We'll try to be gentle here with questionings. But Ms. Lee answered the main question, but I'm going to ask it a few different times so everybody's absolutely clear. So table 1 in the staff report, page 4, lists the 22 temporary use permits. Is it staff's recommendation that all of these will remain intact?
Thank you for your question, Council Member. We are recommending that all of the existing temporary use permits undergo a staff level review to make their outdoor dining permanent. Part of this review process would be ensuring that the outdoor dining areas comply with building and fire code, as well as planning standards. This may impact the outdoor dining areas minimally, but beyond that and the circulation requirements and aesthetic standards outlined in our footnote, we do hope that most outdoor dining areas can maintain what was approved originally.
Okay, let me ask it a different way.
I can add on to that as well, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
The table 1 in staff report in the staff report on page 4, it essentially lists the outdoor dining areas that received temporary use permits during the pandemic. We expect that all of those outdoor dining areas will be maintained. What is in the footnote that we've talked about in the presentation this evening is to essentially say those that operated under a temporary use permit, they can continue to operate that way as long as they essentially upgrade any temporary materials used to permanent materials. And if there are any changes that they've made on site, for example, that don't comply with building and fire code, they would be expected to comply with building and fire code. So that is the result of the analysis of essentially what Caitlin described as a staff analysis of each one of these.
Okay, we're getting a little bit closer.
Yep.
So there are 3 temporary use permits, Semi-Tropic Wines, Breakfast Room Republic, and the camp, all of which are located in driveways or drive aisles. At least that's what I identified on the table.
Right.
All of those would be required to remove portions of the outdoor dining areas if they block access. So my question is, has staff determined that in these 3 situations, access has not been blocked?
Right, so let us show you a few exhibits that I think will answer those questions. So first, let's start with slide 23 on semi-tropic wines. So this is essentially what was approved. There is no driveway or drive aisle leading to the outdoor dining area, therefore it doesn't block access. Correct. So they can remain. So let's move to an exhibit of the camp and its existing conditions. Perfect. Can we get a view of the site plan? There we go. So in this location, this is what was approved at the camp under the temporary use permit. What we envision, this can essentially remain the same. The only thing that we would require is that there's a clear sort of hammerhead at the end so folks can turn around in the drive aisle. But this can essentially remain. It's not blocking access. It's in a drive aisle, but it's not blocking required circulation. So it can stay. Next, Breakfast Republic. Can I get slide 27, please? For Breakfast Republic, this is what was approved as part of the temporary use permit. You can see that access was actually reconfigured to run along the side property line, and the outdoor dining area was approved adjacent to the building. If you go out there today, you can see that there's a little something different out on the site, but this is what was approved. So our interdepartmental team will work with businesses to ensure that they bring these improvements back to what was approved. But as you can see, the outdoor dining area in this case does not block access as approved.
Okay, well, thank you for going through that. So to kind of summarize, there's no intent by the city to remove or take away from any of the current permit holders?
Correct.
Okay, I think I'm done with my questioning.
Okay. But let me give you an example of, I think, what Caitlin was saying and you were saying is, if you look at 15, which is El Matador, one of my favorite places. I love Avila's too, for the record, and most of these places. But they have those kind of right on Newport Boulevard, those kind of temporary plastic, whatever you want to call it. So within that period of time of 6 months, or the 6-month extension, if they want to keep that seating area, they're going to have to upgrade that material to something permanent that would look nicer on Newport Boulevard.
That is correct.
And that would apply to all these places. But when you show the thing about at the camp for that's like Black what is that, Black Market Bakery?
Mm-hmm.
Those it looked like the barriers were just planters. Would that be sufficient, or would they have to upgrade that to more permanent barriers as well?
We've taken a look at a couple different sort of quasi-permanent materials, as long as it's built sturdy enough to really be a barrier when it's located within the drive aisle. It's something that staff would approve.
Okay, and then once they did that, then they'll get the permanent approval, and it would go as forever, basically. Okay, good stuff. Any other questions? Councilmember Marr?
Thank you. Do we have to make that aesthetic requirements? part of the approval process?
We don't have to. It is staff's recommendation. It was also something that was discussed by the Planning Commission when these temporary installations originally went in. We can all think back to where we were at the time as a society. We were all just trying to transition outside for dining. Folks used whatever materials that they had. Many of them weren't really built for permanent installation, so our thought process is that it wouldn't be unreasonable to have those materials upgraded from temporary sort of orange barricades in some instances to something more permanent, since we are transitioning this ordinance to a permanent allowance.
Understood, but we haven't received any complaints about the temporary barriers, have we?
No.
Okay. For the footnote to 13-47B, so given that we're trying to also accommodate the drive aisle scenario, do we need to change the language at the beginning of the sentence, including parklets within public right-of-way and drive aisles, or is that covered?
Caitlin, could we bring up the
slide 13
recommended language? Thanks.
I was just trying to make sure that, given that we're trying to make this amendment for drive aisles, we don't actually say that we're addressing drive aisles in here anywhere. So I was going to suggest that we said including parklets within the public right-of-way and drive aisles, but if that's not necessary, I won't try to add it in a already burdensome motion.
I don't think it's necessary. Staff, you can jump in if you think I'm wrong on that. Essentially, the parklets are describing the installations within public right-of-way, so I don't think it's necessary here. I think we've covered it with the may not interfere with minimum required site access or circulation. As long as it doesn't do that, then we're good.
Okay. And then my last question is, so we're looking for changes on the building and fire code front. So if several years ago they installed an outdoor area and then they've reconfigured it in a way that makes it less safe, that's what we'd be identifying. It's not that we've changed anything about the building and fire code requirements as part of grandfathering in the existing restaurants, correct?
That's correct. Essentially, what we're looking for, the temporary use permits were issued on the basis that there would be no increases in occupancy that trigger new fire and building code requirements. If someone wants to do that as part of these modifications, then we'll review the requirements with them at that time. Okay. There isn't anything new.
This isn't a question, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think it's, my intent to make sure that the full 22 restaurants that are operating right now continue to operate as close to existing conditions as possible, with the exception of any safety-related concerns that staff brings. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilmember Reynolds?
Yeah, thank you. Maybe following up on that last comment, because I agree, I think we're all trying to understand the implications of this ordinance on the existing 22 sites, and then of course on encouraging new sites to open up. So there's a possibility that with some of this follow-up review, there could be a determination that one of these sites does not comply, or there's additional requirements like an expanded restroom that just makes it not viable, right?
So the only reason that new requirements would be triggered is if they were operating somehow in an expanded way beyond what was previously approved as part of the temporary use permit. Those were all issued on the basis that there was no increase in occupancy. So as long as they're consistent with that, then there shouldn't be any changes.
Comforting to hear. Okay, it's I'm trying to gauge how much is sort of still unknown in terms of what changes any new sites would have to make. Okay, can you describe I know this is a first reading, can you describe the timing, given that the urgency ordinance expires at the end of this year, sort of what would be the communication plan, assuming we pass this, to existing businesses with outdoor dining? Right, and one of the things I'm curious about is, and would like to hear if there's any businesses here or on the phone, is that 6-month plus 6-month window enough time to make something permanent, given costs, necessary staff review, and permitting requirements as well. So what would be the process? I mean, the second reading would be mid-January at the earliest, right?
Yes, if the council moved forward with the first reading this evening, we would present second reading January 16th, and the ordinance would become effective 30 days after. In the meantime, we would get started with our outreach plan. Essentially, we'd formulate the interdepartmental team, as we've discussed tonight, proactively reach out with written letters and emails. We send an e-blast as well with contact information, based on the contact information that we had, but just going about starting that communication process and physically visiting each one of the sites and talking with the restaurant owners and discussing with them sort of what their intentions are long-term and how to get there.
Okay. I think my initial inclination maybe was similar to what I think I was hearing from Councilmember Marr. If we haven't had complaints on the aesthetics at any of the existing sites, I certainly think most of them look fine. I don't necessarily want them to require them to change. Maybe some will choose to, knowing that they can make that investment since this is permanent. But I'd be interested in feedback from during public comment, if there's any businesses on the line, whether that 12-month window is enough time to make changes in terms of permanent infrastructure. Okay, a couple of questions. So in the ordinance at the bottom of page 4, we say under development standards for all outdoor dining areas, we have sort of a preference on where these should go. And I was curious why we put existing setbacks sort of secondary to courtyards, plazas, and walkways. And then, it almost seems conflicting with the next item where we say we really want to give preference to areas that can be seen from the public right of way. So why would we not prioritize setbacks as well?
Yeah, I'll give that a shot. Thanks, Councilmember Reynolds. What the intention of that provision is to focus these outdoor dining areas in areas that can be readily seen from the right-of-way, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
With regards to the setback question, really that setback issue is more focused towards the side and rear setbacks, where there could be a neighbor issue. So whereas the front yard is not really where we were concerned about. If somebody were to come in with say a front yard request or a setback, we would look at that one favorably as well.
Yeah.
So in regards to your question, the setback issue is more focused towards the rear and the side as opposed to the front.
Okay, and maybe we could change the language to clarify that.
Sure.
Because I think in my mind, we want to encourage people to use the front setback, right? And this implies that we don't.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
K, we have at the end of the very bottom of page 5, we say any proposed outdoor dining area covers shall not be located within required setbacks. Can you explain that?
Yeah, that provision is written, if you read a little bit farther along there, they can be located in required setbacks just under a subsequent permit. So a minor conditional use permit. Basically what that addresses is there are required setbacks in zones, and those setbacks are there for a reason. In some situations, outdoor dining areas can coexist in those areas and work perfectly fine and actually work effectively. However, some might require conditions or standards to reflect property-specific situations, and that's really where that condition is addressing.
Okay, I think that maybe we could clarify that language again as well, because that suggested to me, avoid setbacks and no covers and setbacks.
Yeah, and really what that is, it's not that the outdoor dining areas that we're trying to restrict in those areas, it's just to be careful and considerate with the covers, which can have an effect on massing and designs.
Sure.
And lots of other issues.
Yeah, okay. Page 7 on W, this is where I think this is a result of some of the planning commission discussion on really creating an opportunity to address any unintended parking impacts. So we have on the fourth line, we say, with the exception of available on-street public parking. And I think my inclination is to cross out the on-street part because there might be some businesses that are nearby some of our public parking areas. I know we have a few, but there are a few public parking lots in Costa Mesa, and I don't think we're intending to disallow parking overflow there.
That's correct, City Council member. I can think of at least two off the top of my head that could benefit from the public parking lots at their rear.
So you would be in support of striking the on-street word there? Okay. Okay, and then I think the last item on page 8, one thing that jumped out to me, so 2B on page 8, we mentioned the potential removal of trees. I guess this would be in a case where someone maybe is in the setback, and I think we would want to discourage that. So is there any concern adding maybe the language similar to the item right above, to the greatest extent possible, outdoor dining should not remove existing trees?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. Okay, and then I just had one last quick comment, and I think, Mr. Dropkin, you may be up to date on this. There was some public comment from Stephen Braw on their site, which sounds like got some kind of permitting for outdoor dining, but they haven't opened yet, so they're not on the list. What's the situation? How does this ordinance affect them?
Are you referring to the barbecue restaurant
Harper
on
Barbecue.
Cabrillo?
Yeah.
Yeah. They did receive a permit or approval, I should say, for outdoor dining in their courtyard areas. It doesn't require necessarily a permit per se. And when they do decide to come back and make a permit, we'll have lots of opportunities for them.
Okay.
Yeah, that site is very conducive to
They're
outdoor
set
dining.
up well for
Yeah,
this?
they're set
Okay.
up well.
Great. Okay. Could you, just going back to the original question, I'm trying to understand this aesthetic requirement and what the potential impacts of that would be. So you showed a few pictures, we have a few pictures in the presentation. Could you just maybe point to us, because aesthetics is somewhat a subjective standard, right? Give us a sense of what would or wouldn't be acceptable under the ordinance as proposed.
I don't know that we have good examples. Director Lee, would you suggest any ones? I would say that there are situations where, for instance, one of my favorite restaurants, again, like the mayor's, is El Matador. And in our opinion, staff's opinion, that site could be upgraded with some investment to be more similar to the design of the structure. So that would be an example of one that we would look to have upgraded. There are several, and I'm trying to think of, like, for example, the semi-tropic wines where they have a wall out there outside. It matches the building very well. That would be something that we might ask them to maybe look a little bit in regards to maintenance. But besides that, that one would be one that we would consider leaving. So, but again, the opposite one would be El Matador, which has a lot of temporary investments.
Okay.
I think that's a good summary. I think where there are clearly temporary materials that are used, the orange barricades are plastic, they're clearly temporary. Yeah. We have a couple pictures in the PowerPoint that are just meant to be representative, but some of the aesthetic treatments are very minimal, but at the end of the day, they're aesthetically compatible with the restaurant. Those are fine. As long as, here's a good example. Here's something that's obviously a permanent installation that's compatible with the restaurant. Not everything has to be up to this level, but at the end of the day, we're just looking to change out the temporary materials.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll be very flexible on what that is interpreted to mean.
Yeah, I mean, this though, I mean, if I could just jump in real quick, Councilmember, this Playa Mesa, that was approved well before the pandemic, and the restaurant owner owns the property, and so that would be like the gold standard.
Correct.
of aesthetics, but it has nothing really to do with the temporary turning the temporary ordinance to permanent. You know, and then I think that actually that's true. Isn't that true with Semi-Tropic too? Weren't they up and running in that space before the pandemic?
No, they didn't have the outdoor.
They did not have outdoor?
No.
Okay.
All based on the temporary use permit.
Well,
yeah.
All right.
Sorry, can I just ask a follow-up question? I'm going to cut you off, Arliss. But Playa Mesa, I mean, I think we even parked it to accommodate the additional seating that they got from the front. So, I mean, if anything, we should consider grandfathering in Playa Mesa to the new requirements if we were to change that would change the parking requirements. So
because they didn't have a temporary use permit, they just complied with the code that was in place at the time.
Yeah.
So we would apply the new code that essentially allows flexibility for parking. So essentially it would accomplish the same thing if they wanted to reduce the number of parking spaces under the new code.
Wait, but I guess my concern is, are we creating a double standard with folks who were permitted prior to COVID, essentially having to provide more parking because we were counting their outdoor space in a way that we're just not counting now?
Yeah, I guess I don't see it as a double standard, but go ahead.
Yeah, you know, that was something that staff considered, and from a fairness perspective of are we providing outdoor dining areas going forward more incentives than what was provided before? Absolutely. So the point of this ordinance is to encourage it. It's to really get it out there and have these new restaurants open up and consider outdoor dining areas when they can. There's a credit that they're allowed to do, they're allowed to obtain, which is 5 parking spaces, which allows them considerable more floor area than they would under the previous existing ordinance. With regards to the existing areas that have outdoor dining areas, it is possible that some of them had some constraints that now that they can take advantage of and open up more. But absolutely, Councilmember Marr, I think you're right on with there is more advantages that are provided to now than there was before, and that's really just with the code update.
And I think the reason that I don't think it's a double standard is that those folks that had to comply with the past code, that the code changes, and when the code changes, then the new code provisions apply. So essentially, that there's not a double standard, they can take advantage of the current code standards.
Yeah, understood. Okay, thank you. Sorry for stealing the mic from you.
No, that's okay. I'm still thinking a little bit about this aesthetics and permanency standard. So I think there's probably some businesses out there, I don't know if Matador is one of them, that will choose to invest right now that once an ordinance is made permanent, certainly folks didn't want to make that investment when things were extended, I think, year by year. But we did see in some of the email comments that some of this outdoor area is still providing necessary commercial activity to kind of keep these businesses in recovery. And so I am a little bit concerned about kind of requiring some additional investment. What about a case where I don't know if any of our existing outdoor dining areas do this, but if a business wanted to do this on a seasonal basis, to the extent that we have seasons in Orange County, right? But if someone wanted to have sort of, their summer outdoor dining space, would this allow for that?
I think it would. Essentially, when we say temporary, we're talking about materials that are clearly not intended clearly not intended as a permanent material. So if you go out to any one of these sites, I was trying to pull up some of the aesthetics for some of these, but essentially you see they're still portable, but they're permanent materials, and I think that's fine. Our intention was not to call those temporary just because they're portable.
Okay, yeah, this is a good example to look at. I guess I'm having a hard time distinguishing. And then a follow-up, well, yeah, so does this qualify, or would this need to be changed, what we're looking at here?
Yeah, I think these are portable. What you have here are planters that are essentially in concrete planter boxes. We see something similar. These are a little bit more sort of individualized, but we see something similar in multiple locations. I think these are fine.
Okay. Part of the ordinance that I really appreciate, and I want to just acknowledge for staff, you guys really leaned into sort of council interest in not just preserving existing outdoor dining spaces, but encouraging new ones. And I think keeping the barrier to entry as low as possible is really important. So I think you've done a lot to encourage that. This permanency requirement, which, I don't know if I'd call this permanent, but I'm glad you do. I wonder how that might affect a new business who wants to try out outdoor dining, but at a lower investment. Would it be possible to allow a new establishment or someone who wants to create a new outdoor dining space to allow them a 12-month sort of experimentation period before they make an investment in permanent materials? Would that be too complicated?
I think that our standard would be essentially, like I said, it doesn't matter if it's portable, and I think you can do quite a lot with sort of materials that are intended to be permanent, but they're sort of, you can take them in and out. Obviously, they're not, affixed to the ground or something that would require more of an investment. I think that's a pretty good bar for us. But we'll take council's direction on this point.
Okay. I think I've kind of shared my maybe opinions and thoughts and options on this. Your definition of permanent is different than mine. I like yours better in this case. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? No? Let's open it up to the public. Yes, ma'am, you have the floor. I got to make sure your mic is on. Podium is on. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I live in Costa Mesa, and I'm requesting for the city of Costa Mesa to not allow for the temporary use to be permanent use for outdoor dining, especially in locations adjacent to residential communities. During the 2020 pandemic period, restaurants expanded their dining areas outdoors. Perhaps it made sense then. However, this is creating public nuisance due to noise and parking problems within my neighborhood. For residents to be able to expand its outdoor dining, the property must give up parking spaces, or they're going to expand their dining areas. Expanding dining areas means increased customers, which means increased vehicles. Consequently, when you give up parking spaces, then you are reducing parking spaces. This has created a parking problem. Today, in 2023, post-pandemic, restaurants continues to use the expanded outdoor dining area as if it's still operating in 2020 COVID pandemic period, while also using the indoor area. It is creating an overcapacity problem. Some of the restaurants are adjacent to residential properties. The homeowners and residents of these properties are now having to endure noise, which did not exist when the restaurants operated indoors only. This has created a public nuisance noise ordinance problem. These problems, parking problem, overcapacity problem, public nuisance, noise ordinance problem, are all caused directly by the expansion of the outdoor dining area. This is a blatant misuse of properties. I believe the following are being violated: ordinance laws, city planning for parking ratio, and zoning laws. Parking ratio is determined by rentable area square footage, the size of the property, and the use of the property. The proposed outdoor dining standards create more problems. Number 3, exempt outdoor dining areas from parking standards. How can you exempt outdoor dining areas from parking standards when outdoor dining expansion will increase the number of customers and vehicles? Number 6, establish operation hours from 6 to 11 p.m., 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Can you imagine yourself living next to a restaurant with outdoor dining hours that operates from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m.? Imagine yourself listening to the outdoor customers partying, the plates, clinging of of the dishes. Imagine yourself. I have submitted a complete write-up of all of what I've discussed here. My write-up also included letters from homeowners.
Oh, I'm sorry, your time is up. Yes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Good evening, Council. Yeah, I just wanted to echo the previous speaker that sounds like a lovely, beautiful reality of having a lively city where people can enjoy the outdoor dining. And so I just wanted to make some comments on this proposal. So first, I wanted to thank Councilmember Reynolds for her comments on the seasonal question. That's also something that came to mind. So I just wanted to appreciate that. I wanted to ask some questions on this kind of temporary, permanent thing. I think there's just a lot of lack of clarity. Like, you know, I think you think of like pallets, for an example. Pallets sometimes are permanent, beautiful things you see on Pinterest, and sometimes they're industrial, temporary use items. And so what would a pallet be defined as for the sake of this item? Quick comment on the Breakfast Republic. I think what's kind of confusing for me is that I think Breakfast Republic originally did change the ingress-egress of its site. It didn't allow for the cars to come from 17th Street anymore at some point in the past. I'm not saying that was approved, but at some point that was the case. And I actually think that made it a better 17th Street to have one less driveway off of, you know, for Breakfast Republic. And so most cars that did come into Breakfast Republic came in from Tustin Avenue. And so thinking about ways that we can be amenable to that, you know, while still understanding that there needs to be ingress and egress, I think that was a good thing. But the big question I want to ask this council, and sometimes I ask rhetorical questions and I get it, but the question I really want you all to debate and think about is, I think right now the standard is roughly about 20% of the parking area can be used for, maybe it was 10%, I'm forgetting the numbers. But the question is, if a business owner wanted to use 100% of the parking lot for outdoor dining, why wouldn't we let them? I think it's a bad business decision, like probably for most businesses, right? But like, why wouldn't we let a business owner kind of gamble that way and say like, oh yeah, like this is the way that I'm going to maximize profits and revenue for the city, and for myself as a business owner, and thereby, you know, the tax revenue for the city. Or maybe this is a way that my business is going to fail because my customers aren't going to have anywhere to park. Like, why do we set this arbitrary standard on businesses where we say, we the city say, we know how much parking they have to have and what percentage can be used for outdoor dining? Why don't we let businesses make that decision for themselves? And some businesses will say that their dining is the parking is the absolute priority for the success of their business, and other businesses won't. You know, you think about a business that's you think about, like, for an example, it's not a business per se, but you think about like the soup kitchen, you know, is next to a major walk, bike, and transit stops. And so why wouldn't they take most of their parking lot and use more of it for outdoor dining? Maybe that's better for COVID protocols. Maybe that's better for air circulation. And maybe it's better ways to feed homeless people. Why would we put that on small business to say that we know the percentage?
Thank you. Good questions. Anybody else from the chambers? Anybody on Zoom?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, close public comment. Let's entertain a motion. Somebody wants to make a motion. Motion. Councilmember Reynolds.
Get the language right. Okay. So I'll try to simplify this by saying, my motion would be staff recommendation with the language changes as presented in the staff report, clarifying the drive aisle situation, and also with the following changes into the ordinance. So in 1A, clarify a preference for front-facing setbacks. 1W, striking the on-street word regarding public parking. 2B, emphasizing a preference to preserve existing trees. And then striking T, which is this aesthetic permanency requirement.
Okay, hold on one second.
Second.
Where are you reading off of?
Oh, the ordinance language.
Okay.
Yeah. I can go through again if
No, I just,
there's a better way to navigate.
it's attachment 2.
Attachment
Yeah.
2. I was reading off 3, so when I gave
I
page
see.
numbers, I was in 3.
Okay. That's attachment 3.
Yeah. Do you want me to go through again?
Yeah, one more time.
Okay. So looking at attachment 3, on page 4, in section 1A, we would clarify the language to include in the first tier of preferences that front-facing setbacks would be a preferred area,
Okay.
and side and back-facing setbacks would be, tier 2.
Okay.
Page 7, we would, letter T is the item describing this aesthetic standard that I find very confusing and subjective. So I'm proposing to strike that. The bottom of page 7 on W, just striking the word on street on the 4th line. So that's basically saying it's totally fine if people park off-site in public parking areas. And then on page 8, item 2B, we would add language to indicate a preference not to remove existing trees.
Okay. There's a second? Okay, there's a second by Councilmember Marr. You could speak to your motion.
Yeah, well, I'm thrilled that we're here. I think in our last strategy session, which was maybe a year ago, this was an item I think we're all very much in favor of. I don't know if this is a fact, but I imagine that this item is probably set a record in terms of public comment in public support for outdoor dining. I know it started for a very negative reason, responding to the pandemic. But it's really turned into an incredible amenity for our public. The words people were using in public comment is, places for people to gather, supporting local business. Really nice to see the lights and so on. There's live music. People are really connecting with the businesses who have these. Just so many positive benefits. And I think I don't think we would have been here if we weren't very, very loose with the temporary ordinance. We created an opportunity for people to try out and experiment with what worked. And that's gotten us to a place where 22 sites are working. Things we probably would not have thought have worked are working really well. And probably all of us here frequent several of these sites. So the part of my motion to strike T, which might be the most biggest change, is just to kind of let businesses and customers figure it out, really remove the barrier to creating these spaces, allowing more flexibility in creating these spaces, giving the opportunity for businesses to kind of adjust with what works without having to meet a standard that is inherently subjective. I think all of the sites that are here today, all of the ones that I can think of visually are fine. And as I said, I think many businesses will choose to update over time as they have the funds to invest. That's it, thanks.
Second.
Yeah, I agree with everything Councilmember Reynolds just said. I will say, to answer the hypothetical that was thrown out there, yes, absolutely. If a restaurant wanted to be entirely outside and take up an entire parking lot, I would be supportive of that. I think having outdoor dining is an incredible amenity, and you can tell by the vociferousness of the, I got that right. I was worried I wouldn't be able to say that correctly. The public's response to semi-tropic, I think, is emblematic of how strongly people feel about the ability to sit outside in our lovely weather. It was 77 today. I do just want to add the only caveat to that, in my mind, the only exception to the hypothetical raised by Mr. Vuksovich is safety. So I do draw the line at making sure cars aren't backing into people who are trying to enjoy a glass of wine at Semi-Tropic. I do want to make sure that staff has an opportunity to work with the 22 businesses to see if things have changed over time. We also can't be putting residents at risk. So that is my only caveat to your hypothetical, for the record. Thank you.
And Mayor, if I can clarify, just for the record, staff's recommended language as shown on slide 13. It's also in section 13-48A1E on page 4 of the clean version of the ordinance. So my suggestion is that we would just strike it since it's in two places. We'll modify it in the footnote and strike it from the other section. That's staff's recommendation.
All right, I'm trying to make a substitute motion, but it's not letting me do it. What's going on? I hit make additional motions. It's not doing
No,
it.
it won't allow you to do that.
What's that? Home panel?
Just do it verbally.
Oh, make motion? Okay, got to do it verbally? Okay, so I generally like the motion, so I'm just have one tweak, and I'll explain it. I do think we should keep subsection T in there and have current businesses that have temporary permits and have temporary materials upgrade to some form of aesthetically pleasing material and not have the temporary materials such as plastics and temporary fencing and stuff like that. However, I would be willing to also include in that something that Councilmember Reynolds suggested, which is in the future, if people want to try it and they want to have less permanent barriers for a period of time, let's say 1 year, that they be permitted to do that on a trial basis, and then their requirement for a more permanent aesthetically pleasing materials would kick in after 1 year. So that's my substitute motion. I don't know if I'll get a second, but
I'll second for discussion.
okay. So I don't know if this is even allowed under the Brown Act, but I texted Jana from El Matador, and I think that's kind of emblematic of what I'm talking about. I don't have any problem if it's liberally construed what is considered permanent or aesthetically pleasing. I want it to be broadly interpreted, and so like the planners over at Black Market Bakery are fine with me. I don't have any issue with it, but I do have an issue with the temporary barriers on Newport Boulevard that are in front of El Matador. So I texted Jana, and she says no. There's some back and forth I won't bore you with, but no, we want to upgrade it if it becomes permanent. We will have it professionally done. Okay, so I think that that's the right answer for a business. And I think that's a level and standard that we should have, especially on a street like Newport Boulevard. I mean, to allow a business, and I understand what the implication of my motion is, which is it's a requirement. It's not, she said there she'd do it, but I'm saying no, we have to require it. You cannot have cones and funky barriers out on a major corridor of our city permanently as a matter of right in Costa Mesa. I don't think that's right. So with those changes, everything else that Councilmember Reynolds says I agree with. And I got a second. You want to speak to the second?
Yeah, I'll add to that. I mean, I don't have much to add because I think you're right. The things that Councilmember Reynolds talked about that are the benefits to the community. You mentioned gathering, community space, ambiance. You might not have said ambiance, but I read into that. All of that, I think, is underscored by high quality aesthetics. People want to be in environments outside that are appealing. I can think of any number throughout our community where they're more successful because the businesses put that investment. And I think to the mayor's point, especially on a major boulevard like Newport, we want to have that kind of high quality investment there. Everything else I agree with. I think those are some good modifications, but I think at the end of the day, businesses who do want to make the investment, and it's not a real high barrier as far as cost is concerned. I mean, if that's the real issue, then I think there's some other concerns there. But for what we've seen so far, they've been successful. I'm glad to hear that El Matador is willing to make that investment. That's what I would expect of a long-term business like that in Costa Mesa.
Okay, does anybody else want to speak to the motion? Or to the, whether they support, or we're on, you could either speak whether you support the substitute motion or the original motion, it doesn't matter. Council member.
Thank you, Mayor Stevens. I don't know. I kind of believe this quote, keep it simple, silly. I think we're debating a nuance, and I think it's brilliant because it shows how much an alignment we are in the fact that we want to have outdoor dining in Costa Mesa. I think it's pretty evident from the emails we received. It's evident from the community that this is something people want to see expanded. People want to see made permanent. I'll support the mayor's motion. I'll also support the original motion made by Councilmember Reynolds and Marr. For me, what matters isn't the particular nuances of it. What matters is that it's legal and that businesses that want to invest in our city, that want to try their luck with a bit less parking and more outdoor seating can do that. What I will say as well is I've always been about the free market. If someone wants to make a leap and make half of their parking lot into outdoor dining, I think we should find ways for us to do that. Maybe now isn't the time, maybe in the future we can revisit it, but I want us to have that thought in our mind. That what makes Costa Mesa a vibrant city isn't the cars, it's when people get out of the cars and enjoy the environment. I love walking to semi-tropic wines from my house and enjoying the outdoor patio. I love when I Uber to the camp and the lab and I walk around and enjoy the outdoor ambiance. It promotes safety for folks that drink, not drive. And I think as City of the Arts, we should be constantly looking to innovate on what we can do. So my answer is simple. I support both motions. Both the mayor's first, so I support his first, and we'll see how things fall. Overall, this is a good thing for Costa Mesa. Thank you.
Right. If there's nothing else, let's call for the question on the substitute motion.
Motion carries 4-2. Councilmember Reynolds and Councilmember Marr voting no.
All right. Well done, everybody. So let's go to the last item, which is public hearing number 1, which we moved to 2.
Oops. Thank you. This is public hearing regarding the Development Impact Fees Annual Report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023, and the Traffic Impact Fee Analysis. Presentation by Ms. Molina, Finance Director.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. Before you tonight is the legally required annual report of the Development Impact Fees and Traffic Impact Fee Analysis. Tonight, we will present the Development Fees Annual Report and the TIF analysis for our Development Impact Fees Annual Report for this last fiscal year. Pursuant to the Mitigation Fee Act of the State of California, the city is required to prepare an annual report of all development fees funds, describing the fees, the funds received, and any expenses of those funds in the last 5 fiscal years. As per the California Code, the city noticed the public of this report and provided to the council for review the annual report as set forth before you tonight. The city has 5 development impact fees funds. They include the parks, drainage, traffic, fire system, and cannabis traffic impact fees. These fees are collected and are restricted as per outlined in the slide. For example, the traffic impact fees are restricted for traffic signals, operations, and infrastructure improvements related to traffic. In this slide, we're providing the preliminary unaudited fiscal year 22-23 financial result for each of these DIFs. The expense is mostly tied to capital project as outlined in the report. As you can see, we've received a significant number of revenues across these 5 fees, and we have made some expenses mostly tied to capital projects. For this portion, for the traffic impact fee annual review, I will hand it over to Director Sitharaman for the traffic impact fee review.
Thank you, Ms. Molina. We'll have Jennifer Rosales, our Transportation Services Manager, make a presentation, and then we can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Director Sethuraman. City Council has reviewed the traffic impact fee each year since the program was adopted in 1993, and also established the Traffic Impact Fee Ad Hoc Committee in 1993 as well. The Ad Hoc Committee met on November the 2nd to review the traffic impact fee and complete their annual review, which included looking at the traffic impact fee range, which can be justified anywhere between $176 to $476 per average daily trip, which is all trips in and out of a particular development over the course of a 24-hour period. So the average weekday and all trips in and out over 24 hours. The ad hoc committee also reviewed recently completed capital improvement projects, considered inclusion of active transportation projects from the active transportation plan, also reviewed inclusion of traffic signal synchronization projects, which can improve traffic flow and mobility for all users, and then reviewed the annual accounting of the traffic impact fee and looking at the traffic impact fee fund balance. Based on this review, a revised calculation of $231 per average daily trip was calculated, and this is based on the revised list of CIP projects and including all the projects in the active transportation plan that is still to be implemented. So this slide shows the traffic impact fee fund balance as of June 30th, 2023, which you can see from the slide is $5,841,000. The slide also shows the revenues and expenditures over the course of the year. And then in addition to that, I would like to point out that the capital projects, the current capital projects that have been appropriated with funds from the traffic impact fee total $4,723,000, which would then be taken from the $5,841,000 that are currently appropriated to date. So the Traffic Impact Fee Committee recommended to continue the traffic impact fee of $235 per average daily trip, which was the fee that was adopted over the course of this past year, with the inclusion of active transportation projects. They recommended to continue allocation of up to 10% of traffic impact fees towards traffic signal synchronization projects. And then they recommended to continue a 5% reduction in auto trips, which would result from active transportation project implementation, and then recommended an additional 5% in auto trips for developments that propose to implement active transportation improvements beyond what would be a typical development requirement. This would be something above and beyond, such as adding a Class 1 multi-use trail or upgrading a bicycle facility to something that's beyond what it's already planned for. And with that, we can entertain questions. Thank you.
All right, any questions for staff?
I have a few questions, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Chavez.
So, one of the fees you mentioned was the cannabis fee. How have we spent that money so far? I know there was 2 buckets it'd go to, but how have we as a city spent that money so far?
Currently, Councilmember Chavez, that money has not been spent. We have not appropriated it in any budget or identified any areas to spend it.
Are we waiting for it to reach a certain amount before we move forward with it, or is there a reason why we haven't used that money yet?
Those funds, as indicated by the council when they was first approved, need to be utilized in the area those funds were received. At this time, I am not sure of any capital projects, traffic projects. I'll turn that over to Director Thurman if he's aware of anything in the pipeline.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Chavez, we'll be looking at the next year's budget to look into projects. Again, we have to look into, as Director Molina mentioned, where the fees were collected and make sure that we have projects in that specific area where we can expend those funds. So we'll look into that.
Thank you. Reason why I bring it up is because me alongside Councilmember Gameros and the mayor made the motion and passed it to the council to use the cannabis money to go to art projects. You know, we say to the arts, we always talk about creating murals and stuff. So one of the things I want to challenge us to do is find ways for us to use that money to promote the arts.
So I wanted to remind you, Councilmember Chavez, that half of the percentage that we receive for the tax does go directly to the arts. However, in this particular case, it is, I think, specifically restricted to traffic, like synchronization, traffic areas. I'll let Director Thurman speak more to that if this is restricted.
Oh, got it. So I'm all over the place today. I understand. Thank you.
So let me just see if I can direct and ask kind of similar questions. So I'm looking at the number one is the report, which I thought was very well done. I really appreciate all the work everybody did on it. And I'm looking at page 13. And then in page 13, there's a graph, and it says for the fiscal years 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and it has the fees, the revenues. These are traffic impact fees, right?
That's
correct. That's what it says. And then you look like there's less than 200,000 in 2019, about 250,000 in 2020. Then there was this spike in 2021 to 1.2 million, correct? Right?
That's correct.
And that's attributable to cannabis, right? The spike.
Mr. Mayor, I think it could be even the housing projects on Anton, the Symphony Towers, and another project that generated a lot of traffic impact fees. The monies that we got from
you mean
cannabis,
Halcyon House?
Yeah, Halcyon, sorry.
That dropped at that time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's a big contributor to the traffic impact fee.
Okay.
At that time.
That's good to know, because I just looked at it and I figured the chronology, if that's when people were applying and doing all that stuff, that there was a connection. Is that right?
Yeah, the cannabis revenues mostly came in the last fiscal year, I would think.
23?
23.
Okay, so that'd be the 601.
It's part of that, yes.
And probably part of it's the 437 in 2022?
Yes.
Okay. And then if you flip over, I think this answers Councilmember Chavez's question. If you flip over to page number 18 of the same report, you have traffic impact fees and you have project by fund, traffic impact fee funds. And this is a listing of projects where the traffic impact fees would be used, right?
That's correct.
And we have a lot of, pedestrian projects. We have a lot of bicycle facility projects, traffic signals, things that make it safer to drive on our streets and be pedestrians and bikers in Costa Mesa.
That's correct.
Okay, that's it. That's the only questions that I have.
One question, Mayor.
Any other questions?
I have one question.
Yes.
I don't know if I need to. Okay. So regarding the park development impact fees, do we have anything that ties the fees to the neighborhoods where those kind of fees are coming from? And the reason I'm asking that question is we've had some discussions here about different distribution or availability of parks in different neighborhoods, and when we think about where we've placed a lot of the sort of anticipated growth in housing through our housing element, those are in areas that generally have less park access. And so my interest is in making sure that where we're adding residents or where we already lack park access, well, I guess in this case, I'm trying to tie development fees to the neighborhoods where they come from. So do we have anything that makes that sort of direct connection a requirement?
We don't. The expenditure of park funds are just based on the general citywide needs and expenditures. It's not area specific.
Okay. And so the levers to kind of pursue that appropriate distribution, I know we have a sort of a goal in terms of park acreage per resident or 1,000 residents. It would be sort of the pursuit of that goal, which is I think in our general plan. Is that right?
It is, yes.
Okay. Is it common, uncommon? Is there any precedent for trying to tie fees to the neighborhoods served by the sort of source of those fees?
I don't think it's common. I think it's more common to leave that to the discretion of the council when you're making decisions about where to allocate funds.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a structure that exists in some city that we could take a look at, but it's not common, no.
Okay. I imagine it'd be a little bit complicated, but I wanted to kind of raise that concern. Okay. That was my question. Thank you.
Let's open it up for the public. Everybody rushing to speak at the podium? Nope. Close the public comment in the chambers. Anybody on Zoom?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Close public comment. Okay, let's make a motion. Councilmember Chavez.
Move to approve staff recommendation.
I'm trying to second, and then I'm.
That's
Second.
right, you got it. Seconded by Councilmember Reynolds.
Okay.
Okay, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No.
Okay. How about the second? Okay, let's call for the question.
Councilmember Chavez and Reynolds, please. Councilmember Reynolds. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, and then before I adjourn, I want to remind the council that we have to go back and finish our closed session. We're going to adjourn, as we said, in memory and honor of Coach Tim T.J. Hicks, who died on November 17th at Jack Hammett Stadium. May he rest in peace.